Will there be a first-round shocker in tonight's live draft? Can former overall champ from Fantasy Pros Tim McCullough reclaim his crown? And can the pros keep the title on their side as we begin our pick-by-pick coverage? Follow along with the live draft board tonight and listen to our live analysis as we call the action from the 2018 FFPC Pros vs. Joe's Eggos League Number 1 to see who will win a 2019 FFPC main event team. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations, Balkaholics and Gerzak addicts. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, presented by MyFFPC.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is indeed the patron saint of fantasy football, the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. Tonight we have the first of 6 special episodes for you. It's the FFPC Pros vs. Joe's Eggos League Number 1 draft tonight, and we will indeed be covering it for the next 2 hours. Follow the live draft board at youtube.com/highstakesfantasyfootball. Shout out to the chat room right now as well on Blog Talk Radio. Post your questions you might have in there. You can connect with us on Twitter at HSFFhour, at Eric Balkman, and at David Gerzak this evening. Facebook.com/HSFFhour is where you can reach us there. And if you want to give us a call, it's 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVER. You can also email the show at the inbox, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, now is the time to send them. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, tweets, and emails as we do the show tonight. Our producer and mutual friend, Rob, and audio engineer, Bryce, getting those to us as we broadcast tonight. As a reminder, tomorrow is deadline day for the FFPC main event early draft slot announcement. When you pay for your team in full by midnight Pacific tomorrow, you'll get your draft slot after next weekend. July 30th is the date that is slated to be announced. And remember, if you already have an FFPC main event team, you'll get $300 off each additional team you add on. So square those main event balances away at myffpc.com. The Dizzle, Dave Gerzak, joining me tonight once again. I don't know how many years in a row we've been doing this, but are you pumped to do 6 straight episodes again? We'll do 3 this week, 3 next week.
Yeah, well, okay, I'm really pumped. I brought my hourglass, so I'm going to time it since this takes so long. 12 different times I only have to flip it over before this godforsaken PBJ is done with.
And it's not godforsaken. We do enjoy it. We have a blast with this. I will say it is much better.
I actually love it.
Remember when we used to do it 6 days in a row? That was pretty brutal. But spacing it out, I think is much better this year than it has been in years past. Of course, a big shout out at the top to Darren Armani from Fantasy Mojo, who does a great job of putting this together, and you can check out his site. Not only does Darren, put Pros vs. Joes together every single year, but if you ever go on to Fantasy Mojo's website, which I totally recommend, it is like the home of FFPC draft analysis. Like, you have full draft boards, you have ADP. It's just a great history of the Pros vs. Joes event. So great stuff there going on. I encourage everybody to check that out at fantasymojo.com. Dave, we should probably list tonight's competitors, and I will read them off here as we get things underway. Joes are drafting in the odd-numbered spots tonight, and the Pros will be in the even-numbered spots. Kicking things off is Larry Weinhauer, of course, owner of the Troy's Boys franchise in the FFPC. He's picking first tonight. From FantasyPros.com, it's Mike Tagliere. He will be picking right behind Larry at the 2 spot. Kurt Kikas, longtime veteran of the FFPC and accomplished high-stakes player, will be drafting third. He's been on the RotoViz high-stakes lowdown with me. He's been on this show a couple of times as well. Josh Hayes from RotoBaller hitting cleanup tonight in the 4th spot. Bob Beyondich and Mark Williams, that team is of the FFPC contingent, is drafting 5th right behind them. RotoViz and Fanballs, Todd Burrows, of course, who does a ton of best ball stuff, so we'll definitely be keeping an eye on him tonight. Scott Johnson, a former co-host of this show, is drafting 7th. A longtime competitor in the FFPC Pros versus Joe's competition, it's Number Fire's J.J. Zekariason, is picking 8th. Doug Goodison, who actually you can hear on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour this Friday, he is drafting in the 9th position. Former overall champ from Fantasy Pros, Tim McCullough, is picking 10th. And we'll have to see, again, I'll make this joke every year. We'll count how many tight ends he drafts. He won the whole thing with only 1 tight end before. We'll see if he does it again. Brian Holgen and Scott Campbell, 2 very accomplished FFPC best ball drafters, will be picking 11th. And rounding things up tonight, from Dynasty Football Factory, it is Michael Goins picking 12th tonight. Now, we do have the action underway, and
these guys are flying well.
They are flying, and we're having an issue with the YouTube broadcast right now, which I'm trying to take care of.
Oh, you want me to talk?
Is there a way that you can kind of take people through? You have the draft board up there, right?
Sure.
Is there a way for you to take people through the first round and just just give everybody a taste? And obviously, if there's a shocker, let us know, because I think the first Pros versus Joes is always entertaining to see what some of these pros who maybe don't draft in the FFPC all the time, to see what they do in the first round.
Sure.
Let everybody know what's going on.
All right. It's fairly predictable early on. We have Todd Gurley going to Larry at pick number 1, Le'Veon Bell to Mike Tagliere at pick number 2. Kikas goes with Ezekiel Elliott, who was looking a little chubby earlier in the offseason, but I'm not sure. He might have slimmed down a little bit. At pick 3, David Johnson coming off an injury to Josh Hayes at pick number 4. The first wide receiver off the board, Antonio Brown, to Bob Beyondit and Mark Williams at pick 5. Alvin Kamara to our buddy Todd Burrows from RotoViz. He actually just took a 2nd-round pick. I'm not going to reveal that quite yet. Saquon Barkley, the rookie running back, goes to Scott Johnson. Barkley has 0 fantasy points as a professional, and he goes number 7 overall in a redraft. This is amazing, folks. I remember when Adrian Peterson came out. He was a highly touted rookie, and I think in WCOP we got him at the 405 in that main event draft, and I was so excited, actually. I jumped up out of my chair. But I think AP was not he was splitting time with some other idiot, I forgot his name. But anyway, AP did not have
Adrian Peterson splitting time?
He was splitting time with the other running back that was there. I forgot that running back's name, but Barkley does not have that issue, not have that impediment. He is going early in drafts, as he pretty much very well should. Zach Reason takes Leonard Fournette at pick number 8. Fournette, the concern there a little bit is how many catches will he have, but great defense, and maybe he'll get some. Douglas Goodison goes with DeAndre Hopkins at 109. Kareem Hunt to Tim McCullough at pick 110. Gronk goes at pick 111 to Brian Holgen and Scott Campbell. And rounding out the first round is Melvin Gordon to Michael Goins at DynastyFootballFactory.com. Sometimes we've seen this, and Michael ruined it. Actually, Brian ruined it, and then Michael ruined it. They both ruined it. Sometimes you see the 11 or 12 pick go with Gronk and Kelsey to screw everybody else over. And you didn't see that this draft. You saw it as we headed in the 2nd round. Michael took Kelsey at the 201. I don't know if that was Brian's strategy at the 202 to try and grab Kelsey with Gronk, but he didn't have that opportunity.
Henry Muto, the unofficial fact checker of the show, chimes in the Blog Talk Radio chat room. Adrian Peterson splitting time with Chester Taylor.
Yeah. Chester Taylor's a good running back, actually.
He was very good.
I think that first game, AP had didn't have a lot of carries, but he had a 60-yard catch. Oddly enough, he didn't have a lot of catches throughout his career. 60-yard catch for a touchdown. He looks fantastic.
That's how they suck you in, Dave. Just give you a taste of a 60-yard touchdown. That's probably the longest touchdown catch of Adrian Peterson's career.
I'm sure
someone.
Hey, Mudo, check it out.
Not a lot of surprises in the first round. I think it's pretty, quote unquote chalky. I wish we could talk about a shocker there, but nothing really stands out to me. You talked about going tight end at the 12. I will put 5 on it happening at least once in one of these Pros versus Joes.
Or the 11 and around,
Oh, yeah. Okay, so either at the 112, 201 or the 111, 202. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I totally agree.
What I always like to look out for in Pros versus Joes is who's going to go tight end. I talked about this. I was on the Fantasy Alarm this past week with Brandon Marianne Lee, who's actually going to be drafting in the Pros versus Joes. Won the league last year in the Pros versus Joes.
Trade shows, which I hate. She was one of the nicer people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody's nice there.
No.
Okay, well, no comment. Jim Bowden was also on there, and I was talking to him about Football Guys Players Championship Draft, which you can sign up for at myffpc.com. There's spots open in drafts tonight if you wanted to hop in after the broadcast is over, which I would encourage you to do. So, yeah, just to let you know. But in one of those drafts, a big-time high-stakes player, I won't reveal who it was, started off his draft tight end.
Sure.
4 tight ends in a row, all uber awesome in a football guys draft. Yeah, it was pretty awesome to see. And for anybody who drafts in a lot of those, it's not the guy you're probably thinking of. It was somebody else. So that was very cool to see. We'll see who goes tight end in the Pros versus Joes drafts as we got 6 of them underway. We're going to see a lot of crazy stuff. So kicking things off, Dave already mentioned Travis Kelce going to Michael Goins at the 201. Odell Beckham falling to the 202. To Brian Holgen and Scott Campbell. This is a guy, Dave, that was like the #1 overall pick last year in a lot of FFPC drafts, and he's tumbled all the way to the 2nd round now. Now, is it the ankle injury? Are people concerned with the new offense there that's maybe going to be more running-based, the improved offensive line? Maybe Saquon Barkley is going to be the man to own there. I'm not sure. But Beckham in the 2nd round, I'm on board with. I know. I feel like you are not, though. You're still worried about the flakiness.
Actually, yeah, he's flaky, but I've never been a huge Beckham fan. But I really think the reason is that because Beckham, you get recency bias because Beckham didn't play at all last year, or play much. And then you have Antonio Brown, who's got to go ahead of him. He's been productive for so long. And Hopkins, who was productive last year. And then all those running backs, most of them are going in front of him. So it's like he's just getting kind of pushed down. I do think Beckham's a value. I will actually, if I'm drafting in those types of spots, I'll take him.
Odell Beckham at the 202, I really like that pick. Dalvin Cook goes the pick after at 203. Somebody had the opportunity, a few people had the opportunity. I think a start of Beckham, Dalvin Cook would be interesting. And I probably will have a couple of those this year in my leagues. I'm all on board with Dalvin Cook. And he gets snatched by Tim McCullough to pair with Kareem Hunt in the 2nd round.
I like that. I like Hunt with Cook is pretty nice.
Yeah, I totally agree. You get 2 bell cows like that. Guys that are going to catch a lot of passes, too.
Right.
Youthful guys. I mean, not older,
quality
decrepit.
Teams, playoff caliber teams
Exactly.
with good defenses. They're going to be scoring a good amount of points. They're going to be running the ball in the 2nd half of a lot of games.
Doug Goodison goes at the 204 tonight Doug Goodison goes. He takes Julio Jones at the 204 tonight to pair with his DeAndre Hopkins. He goes receiver, one of 2 teams to do so. Michael Thomas right after that to number fires J.J. Zecker-Reason. Keenan Allen, the pick right after that, the coach's cruncher, Scott Johnson, who actually texted both of us before the broadcast tonight, said, I'm going out and I'm getting the guys I want. ADP, be damned, whatever. I'm getting the guys I want.
I'm glad someone listens to your credo.
Listen, champions listen to my credo. Every time we have like the FFPC main event, he is a champ, and a 2,500 dynasty champ.
I know,
right?
That's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Anytime we get the main event champion, $250K winner in the main event, and the $250K winner in the Football Guys Players Championship, I'm going to try to get them to say, "Get your guys" was the reason I won.
Have you trademarked that yet?
I haven't. No, I'm gonna have to. I don't even think I've ever hashtagged it, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, you should be doing it. That should definitely be your thing.
So anyway,
get your guys for your new Twitter handle.
Maybe I should just start a new Twitter account, like one of my burners. Just have that going.
That might be already taken by some sort of male dating site or something.
Either way, whatever.
Whatever you want to use it for.
I'm an entrepreneur on so many different planes. I mean, I could go either way on that. Keenan Allen to Scott Johnson. Devontae Freeman is Todd Burrow's pick. They're at the 207. Devontae Adams, the 2nd receiver drafted by Bob Beyondich and Mark Williams there at the 208. And then we have Jerick McKinnon rising up draft boards. And he goes to Josh Hayes from Rotoballer at the 209. Jerick McKinnon, after he signed the deal in San Francisco in FFPC drafts in like February or March or whatever it was, he was like going in the 4th round. I thought that was high. And then it didn't take long for him to ascend to the 3rd round, and now he is a staple in the late 2nd round of drafts. We talked a little bit about on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. If you are a believer that he can be the man and hold up over a 16-game season, that's a fantastic value. He's going to catch a lot of passes in that offense.
Yeah, I look at the guys that go right around him and after him. I probably would take McKinnon. I think I would take him over Devonta Freeman. I have a little bit of concern about injury with him. But I think I would take McCaffrey over McKinnon still. McCaffrey had that great season last year. McCaffrey has a high floor. He's more pedigree than McKinnon because he was drafted higher. And it seems, when you have, what's his nuts, Mr. What is he on his 24th offensive coordinator job now in Carolina?
Yeah. He's been around, North Turner.
Yeah, North Turner. He's been doing that forever, but his running backs usually are very productive. And so if you think C.J. Anderson is going to be that person, I don't think so. I think it's going to be McCaffrey. McCaffrey's looking bigger. So I would take McKinnon after McCaffrey. But other than that, I like him over Jordan Howard, Joe Mixon, Geis, McCoy. McCoy with his issues.
Yeah. So you like McCaffrey better than McKinnon?
I do like him better than McKinnon, but I do like McKinnon.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. We feel you. We got you. Not misreading you right now, at least. A.J. Green is the penultimate pick. First use of penultimate, Pros versus Joes this year, Dave.
Unfortunately, we'll hear about a dozen more times.
You might hear a dozen more times tonight.
Oh, yeah.
A.J. Green at the 211. Boy, he's fallen a little bit. And you think about where he's been.
That's nice.
It's sort of been he's sort of been a staple at the end of the 1st round, early 2nd. He could have a bounce back this year and looking real good for Mike Tagliare's squad there at the 211. And then Jordan Howard rounds out round 2 to Larry Weinhauer. Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen expected to split the backfield work in Chicago this year. We talked, it's interesting. A lot of these guys that I'm bringing up as the draft goes on tonight are guys that we discussed this past Friday on Friday's show with Mike Dente from Fantasy Pros Rotoballer, who's actually going to be drafting next Tuesday at the final Pros versus Joe's draft. We talked about a lot of these guys, and Howard is a guy that, and I don't know if this is reading too much into it, but does the fact that Matt Nagy, after he was hired, he gushed about Tariq Cohen and his pass-catching skills and the fact that he reminds him of Tyreek Hill, do you think that kind of was like a kick in the butt to Jordan Howard to really work on his pass-catching skills, to try to be out on the field more? And if that's the case, if it took that for him to get better, Jordan Howard at the end of the 2nd round, this is a guy who's finished in the top 10 in PPR format his first 2 years in the NFL. There's no reason that he can't do it again this year if he's going to be catching passes. I think that you look at him at the end of the 2nd round, Dave. I don't know if you'd be on board with him there, but I could definitely see myself taking him at the final pick of the 2nd round.
I'm personally not going to take him there. I think that, he's working on catching passes better. So that doesn't mean he's going to be better at it. The coach is talking him up as playing on 3rd downs and getting passes thrown to him. He had 14 drops in the past few years out of, 40 possible catchable balls, the worst in the NFL.
Targets are what those are called.
Yeah. Well, it was whatever. Anyway, I
just busted your balls a little bit.
I don't see how he's all of a sudden going to become a pass-catching back. And with
right.
Cohen, people are, Nagy's talking about him getting better, so and getting more usage. I don't see why I would take Howard there at all.
Matt Nagy, the way he gushes over Chicago Bears, it reminds me of like a high school coach or a college coach.
He's Gruden-esque in that way.
Well, taking over a program that's been down on its luck and then just talking, just being positive about everything and just hoping that sort of flows throughout the organization.
Dick Vermeil and Invincible.
Oh yeah, that's a perfect example. Coach Eric Taylor on Friday Night Lights when he took over East Dillon in that decrepit program. That's another one that comes to mind. Mike Evans leads off the 3rd round here at the 301.
Who will finish behind Fitz, by the way, Mike Evans?
Tampa Bay receiver. We have a wager on this, whether Larry Fitzgerald or Mike Evans will outscore each other this year, who the leading scorer will be between the two of them. I have Evans and you have Fitzgerald. And David Hubbard, noted FFPC main event champion from 2016, said, you just love burning your money to make a wager like that. Now, I made the contention. I'm like, I think this is just Dave throwing a bone here. But you could honestly be right. I don't think that when we sit...
It's funny that I have to defend the player that outscored crappy Mike Evans by 60 points last year.
Right.
Why am I... You should defend your pick.
Well,
why am I defending mine?
Here's the thing. When I look at Fitz versus Evans...
I have a Hall of Famer on my side.
We all know it's very important not to put too much of an emphasis on ADP, especially this time of year. However, when the season is done right now people would look at that like, oh my God, there's no way Fitz finishes over Evans. Look where he's going in drafts and look where Evans is going in drafts. But at the end of the season, if we look at where the standings are, I mean, how many people are going to be honestly and genuinely shocked if Fitzgerald finishes ahead of Evans? Nobody.
Right.
And they're going to forget where Evans went in drafts. They're going to forget where Fitz went in drafts.
And then next year will be kind of the same thing. Fitz comes back for another year, and Fitz will go in the early fourth, and Evans will go to 212. If Fitz outscores Evans this year, Evans could be pushed down even further. We might be on opposite sides of that bet next year. You never know. Joe Mixon, a guy both you and I drafted in the Scott Fish Bowl, begrudgingly. I don't know how that happened.
I mean, neither one of us has been super excited about him this year.
I went to the bathroom and all of a sudden he ended up on my team.
Was it an auto draft? Did you time out?
No.
Is that what happened?
I took him and I was like, I don't know, I was desperate for running back. It was just stupid.
That's the second consecutive Bengal that Mike Pagliere drafts. It goes A.J. Green and then Joe Mixon at the 302. Zach Ertz is the third tight end off the board tonight. Dave to Kurt Kikas at the 303. Doug Baldwin is at the 304 as Josh Hayes, Rotoballer Radios, Josh Hayes at the 304 takes Doug Baldwin as his number one receiver. Bob Beyondich and Mark Williams take T.Y. Hilton as their third receiver, so they start with three straight receivers, and as we reach the halfway point of the middle of the third round, it's Greg Olsen going off the board, the Carolina Panthers tight end, as Todd Burrow's number one tight end. Todd does a lot of best balls on the intranets, and I was kind of curious at where he would be taking his tight end because I don't know how much he concentrates in tight end premium format. So he gets Greg Olsen there as the fourth tight end off the board, ahead of some other noted tight ends that have been going ahead of him in FFPC draft. That are still on the board, by the way. So we'll see how that plays out. Darius Geis, right after that, to Scott Johnson. So his top two running backs, both rookies. He takes Geis in the third round to pair with Barkley in the first. Adam Thielen.
You can tell who's a dynasty player when you look at Scott Johnson.
Well,
I'm looking
we'll get to the fourth round too. Keenan Allen's a spring chicken yet too.
I've been saying with the running back.
So I get it.
Hey Scott, this is a redraft league.
We'll get to it in a little bit. He's getting his guys, Dave. You cannot fault him for that. He's getting his guys. Adam Thielen to J.J. Zachariason for his number two wideout. And then LaShawn McCoy, we're kind of curious where he would go tonight. Let's talk about him a little bit. This is Doug Goodison's 308 pick. Shady McCoy, we all, you follow fantasy football, you follow the NFL, you know what's going on with LaShawn McCoy right now.
What do we?
Well, you know what's being talked about with him right now.
It's like I felt like the news came flying out. Someone posted on Instagram, and all of a sudden something happened. All this came out, and all of a sudden it just croaked off. It died off. It's like it's been a total silent thing now. And is this going to go away? That's the question.
Is that good? Is it good for McCoy's value that it's silent, or are you getting more nervous that more positive stuff about it has not come out?
Well, to be honest with you, I think it is kind of good, actually, for McCoy. I think that, because he came out and refuted everything. So it sounds like, I don't know, I really thought there was a strong chance, maybe even a week ago, that he'd be like looking at 5 to 10 years in jail because he sent his buddies out there to do that. And at this point, I'm not really sure. I have no idea. It's tough to say.
Yeah, it is tough to say, but it is not tough to say for me. I would not be taking him this high. I can't.
I don't think that's enough of a penalty yet for what could be possibly coming.
Now, I will say, in this format, first place gets a 2019 FFPC main event. Second place, a lot of pride. Pair of socks. The Caddy Day Trophy. So I mean, there is a swing for the fences aspect of this, and if you talk about LaShawn McCoy being the only weapon in Buffalo, if he's clear to this and there's no suspension, or the suspension doesn't come until after the season, well, Doug Goodison just got a steal.
Where was he going before this, like the late second?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes mid-second, too. You can actually go to Fantasy Mojo, Dave, and check out where he was going at that
Great
point.
Site, right.
So McCoy here goes at the 308, again, or the 309, not a place I'm comfortable taking, but Doug Goodison, way more accomplished player than I am, so I'm not going. And we'll talk about this, actually, with him on Friday. Amari Cooper at the 310 to Tim McCullough, and then Stephon Diggs at the 311, and completing the third round tonight is Derrick Henry. He is the number 2 running back drafted by the pro, sitting in the 12th spot, Michael Goins from DynastyFootballFactory.com. This some interesting teams shaping up here. Well, let's just get to the fourth round, and we won't bore people with what I think right now. We'll paint the full picture. Tyreek Hill is the number 1 receiver drafted by Michael Goins at the 401. Great value there. I know there's a lot of it's not necessarily hate, but there's a lack of love for Tyreek Hill, I think, in fantasy circles right now. I'm still on board with him again this year, especially in the 4th round.
Yeah, people are really skeptical of Hill because they're worried about the volume. And that's the real concern, the volume. He's such a tremendous playmaker, though. He really offsets that. And he might, again, this is only his 3rd year. He's getting better. He might be getting better this year.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the volume is a concern. He has a high ceiling and a low floor every week. And the concern is he Deshaun Jackson, or is he like peak Mike Wallace, peak Deshaun Jackson, or is he peak Tyreek Hill?
He might be better than peak Mike Wallace.
He might be peak T.Y. Hill. Who knows?
Yeah, that's another good. That's a good comp there too. What's interesting is a lot of the lack of love that I was talking about with Tyreek Hill. It comes with a lot of faith and belief in Sammy Watkins all of a sudden, and I don't understand how this guy is all of a sudden. It's not like where he's been in the past, be it Buffalo or Los Angeles. It's not like they didn't want to use him a lot. You have this electric talent. I don't understand how it's all of a sudden going to be different in Kansas City with Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt. I don't understand how this is the year and this is honestly, Dave, this is the most Sammy Watkins love I've seen in fantasy circles since his rookie year. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but there's been a lot of positivity out there with Sammy Watkins.
Well, I mean, Watkins is a super pedigreed player. He had a great rookie season. He had a pretty solid second season on 13 games. He had 60 catches for 1,047 yards and 9 touchdowns in the second year. His 3rd year was a bust. 4th year was also kind of a bust. But he's had a lot of injury issues, and now he's moved on again. I like Watkins, actually, but I like Hill, too. I like Mahomes a lot.
Yeah, I know. I've been drafting him.
That whole offense I'm actually kind of a fan of. The problem, as we've talked about in the past, when you have Kelce, Hill, and Watkins all going here, they're all gone by the 508. Somebody's not going to make it.
I was just going to ask you, we bring up the New England Patriots team from a few years ago when it was Rob Gronkowski, it was Wes Welker, it was Aaron Hernandez, and it was Brandon Lloyd, all being taken in like the first 4 rounds. And you brought this up on the show. You said at least one of these guys is going to be a bust.
Yeah.
And it ended up being Brandon Lloyd.
We actually said it was going to be Lloyd.
How comparable is this situation with Kansas City this year? And I understand one of them is a running back in Hunt. But how comparable is this Kansas City situation to that New England one from a few years back?
It's pretty similar. I mean, you have with Kelce and Hill and Watkins. I think it's definitely comparable. And then you look at where Mahomes gets drafted. It's like all these guys have so much faith in these other players, and Mahomes goes in like the 13th or 14th.
Well, he is a quarterback. That's the problem.
But I mean, nevertheless, it's like if you're taking all these star players this early, Mahomes should be going way earlier. I think Mahomes is a huge value at quarterback.
I agree, and I'm actually
Dynasty too.
I'm upset. I have him in 2 leagues right now, and I wish I had him in more, unfortunately.
So I don't know. So to answer the question from where they're getting picked, I don't really have. I mean, I think the most likely bust candidate might be Hill because he's still going pretty high.
Yeah, I still say Watkins. Even though he's the last one drafted.
I know.
I think Lloyd was the last one drafted, by the way, too.
Yeah, he was going over it. Yeah, it probably is Watkins because Hill's going to. But I don't know. I don't know. Man, it's tough to say.
I could be. Listen. There's a lot.
I'm a little bit. I'm waffling.
Listen. There's a lot of people out there way smarter than me, have won a lot more money than I have, that believe in Sammy Watkins this year. So far be it for me to say he's going to be the bust. I will just say this: if he does awesome this year, I won't be too upset if I didn't get him on more teams.
Keep in mind, Goins did draft Hill and Kelce, so who gives a crap from his perspective?
Especially in a best ball format, yeah, exactly, yeah.
I'm sorry, best ball.
Larry Fitzgerald goes right after Tyreek Hill to Brian Holden, Scott Campbell there at
what a great value.
Yes, exactly, the 402. Fantastic pick there, according to David Gerzak. Josh Gordon goes off the board at the 403 to Tim McCullough. That follows up Delaney Walker, the surprise number 5 tight end off the board here, Dave. He went, normally in FFPC drafts, he is the number 7 tight end off the board, usually going, not going until the 503. He gets picked a little bit earlier here by Doug Goodison, who is clearly getting his guys tonight. God, he's going to be such a fantastic interview on Friday because I love his strategy here. He gets Delaney Walker as his number 1 tight end there. Jay Ajayi off the board to J.J. Zacharyson. So he goes with a starting backfield of Fournette and Ajayi. And then you mentioned this. We can talk a little bit more about the dynasty angle with Scott Johnson, who has won dynasty leagues at the highest level in the FFPC. He gets Barkley in the first round, gets Keenan Allen in the second, and then goes rookie, Darius Geis and Rashad Penny right here in the middle of the fourth.
Yeah, our good buddy Jeff Teravasi, a.k.a. Cornfins, he plays a lot of high-stakes stuff. He plays a ton of Dynasty leagues, private stuff, as well as some stuff with FFPC. He says the biggest challenge he has moving from Dynasty to redraft is always just getting out of Dynasty mode, getting out of rookie mode, because he just always wants to draft all these rookies. And I'm not saying Scott did this. He actually got all right value with the guys he took, but he took Saquon Barkley, he took Darius Geis, and he took Rashad Penny, 3 rookie running backs on a loaded rookie running back class, which is fine. And Scott could argue, hey, man, I know more about these rookie running backs than the rest of these.
Yeah, that's true.
That could be his case. But, yeah, he's definitely taking the rookies.
I brought this up on the HSFF Hour a few weeks back. ESPN injury analyst Stefania Bell talked about rookie running backs and how they will never be as healthy as they are now, by and large. They will never have as few tread on their tires as they do now. We've seen rookie running backs explode onto the scene before. Last year was a perfect example. You had McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook looked awesome until he got hurt. Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt. I know I'm forgetting somebody. Did I say Fournette?
Not yet.
Okay, Fournette is the guy I was missing. So, I mean, you have all these, and now you have a talented crop again this year. I don't think it's all that insane. Not that I was accusing it of being insanity before. To grab 3 rookie running backs in the first 4 rounds. These guys could all explode. They have an untapped ceiling right now. I mean, they really do. And say what you will about the news that came out in Seattle. Say what you will about the pass-catching chops of Darius Geis in Washington.
You know what, Geis? I will say that. He is not going to be a pass catcher in Washington.
Well, until Chris Thompson gets hurt and Geis is the last man standing.
He's just not a great pass catching back.
Okay, so that was Rashad Penny going to Scott Johnson at the 406. Allen Robinson.
I bet $5 if Penny outscores Geis. Ready? I got 5 on that. I'm giving you a whole round of value.
No, because I might believe that. I mean, I'm not sure where I fall on it right now, but I'd hate to make that bet now in 2 weeks later. Be like, yeah, I totally agree with Dave.
Well, I'm just trying to throw a bet out there.
No, I like it. I like where your head's at. We got to have more of that attitude tonight and going forward on the show. Allen Robinson to Todd Burrows there at the
totally healthy Allen Robinson.
Allegedly totally healthy Allen Robinson. He's fine. I love Allen Robinson. 407. Mark Ingram goes to Bob Beyondich and Mark Williams there, and then Jimmy Graham goes right after Ingram. Jimmy Graham as the 6th tight end off the board, the number 1 tight end for Josh Hayes. A trio of receivers end the 4th round here. Juju Smith-Schuster to Kirk Kikis, Demaryius Thomas to Mike Tagliere, and Brandon Cooks to Larry Weinhauer. Dave, if I was to ask you who your favorite receiver was of that 4th round ending trio between Cooks, Thomas, and Smith-Schuster, would it in fact be Smith-Schuster? Now consider the format too.
Yeah.
Which might reward Brandon Cooks a little bit more. That might reward Juju Smith-Schuster a little bit more. Might penalize Demaryius Thomas a little bit.
I'd probably have to go with Cooks as much as I hate you to.
Really? Over Juju Smith-Schuster? A guy that you...
I love Juju Smith-Schuster.
You are the vice president of his fan club.
From dynasty purposes, I love it. I mean, he has to give up how many targets to Antonio Brown? 160 plus or whatever? Demaryius Thomas getting a little bit older. Quarterback play is terrible. Cooks is he's in the prime of his career. He got a contract extension. And it is best ball, so he's going to be making some big plays out there. I can be okay with it. I mean, they're all good. It's tough to really choose one or the other. I like Juju, though. And I actually like Demaryius Thomas, too.
I'm going to lead things off the 5th round and talk a little bit about why I suck at fantasy football, specifically Dynasty.
Because you pay up.
When Alex Collins was a rookie, this is before the NFL draft, and we were talking about it on the show, and who was the other guy that was in that Arkansas backfield? Now he's with New Orleans. He was I can't think of Jonathan Williams. Is that his name? I think it's Jonathan Williams. A lot of people were on him, and I was like, I've watched Alex Collins play. I really like him. I think he's pretty talented and could make an impact at the next level.
Nice. You were right on it.
I was. And then what happens? He goes undrafted. It loses some of the luster. Seattle signs with the practice squad, and then they cut him. And I'm like, I'm done with them.
Can I give you my confession?
I'm not done yet.
Go ahead.
Alex Collins then gets signed by Baltimore and really came on at the end of last season. And, of course, all that great scouting I did in Alex Collins reaps no rewards from it because I cut him in all my leagues.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Man.
So frustrating. Yeah. And now, and look where he's going now, 501 in the FFPC Pros versus Joes, Eggos League, by the way. And he looks like he's primed for another good season in Baltimore.
He does look that way.
Go ahead with your story you're going to say.
Nothing other than the fact that I own Jarek McKinnon in every single league I was in, 7 different Dynasty leagues, and I either cut or traded him in every league before he emerged. Well, that did take a long time to get where he got to, but I own him nowhere in Dynasty.
Well,
But I did own him everywhere. I did own him everywhere.
I mean, we could tell. Hopefully, we couldn't tell these stories all night, but those were 2 of our more frustrating ones. Nobody cares about our dynasty teams. Moving on, Sony Michel to Mike Tagliere at the 502. Golden Tate, the first Lions receiver off the board tonight, to Kurt Kiekis as his number 2 receiver at the 503. Kenyon Drake is the 3rd running back selected by Rotoballer's Josh Hayes at the 504. Lamar Miller, our favorite whipping boy, goes at the 505 tonight as the number 2 running back to Bob Biondic and Mark Williams. Kyle Rudolph is the 2nd tight end. The first team with 2 tight ends on their team tonight is Todd Burrows from RotoViz and Fanball. He gets Kyle Rudolph there to pair with Greg Olsen. What do you think of the strategy of 2 tight ends in best ball format in the first 5 rounds in a tight end premium scoring system?
No, I don't really mind that pick, especially. I think Rudolph's a good value there. Rudolph has that new offensive coordinator who loves to throw the tight ends, right? Whoever that person is. I forgot his name.
DiFilippo?
Sure, but
yeah.
Who cares? But
John DiFilippo.
Yeah. He likes to throw the tight end. And Olsen, I mean, those are good veteran tight ends. He's got a bunch of good veterans on his team. I like it. Other than, next pick, not so much, but he's a breakout player. I like the Rudolph pick, actually. Also,
Can I give you a lukewarm take real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Luke, this is it's rooftop. It's not even hot or remotely hot. Kyle Rudolph is the number 4 fantasy tight end at the end of the season.
That's not bad.
I like him quite a bit this year, and I think he's got a real good shot at doing that.
He's got his, remember he had all those health issues for the first 4 or 5 seasons, and now he's back. I think a few players made mistakes. The guys at 1 and 2 and 5 by not taking Rudolph for Ingram and just letting that pass, because this was a friendly tight end draft. It was actually going pretty well.
Yep.
By letting that pass,
everybody's palling around with the tight ends in this draft.
Yeah.
Come on.
And then you finally got a couple guys that doubled up, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right.
I need one of these guys.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Evan Engram goes right after that to Scott Johnson. Evan Engram actually bringing the age up on Scott Johnson's roster there. The grizzled veteran of Scott Johnson's team there. And then you have Sammy Watkins. We talked about him earlier. J.J. Zachariason from Number Fire takes him there at the 508. Dion Lewis, second tight end off the board to Doug Goodison. And Davey,
Dion Lewis, the second running back for him.
Yeah, he's the number 2 running back. He's also the number 2 Titans running back off the board is what I was trying to say.
Yep.
It's a little early in the broadcast for me to be completely.
I'm not trying to correct you, but I mean that's amazing the difference between Henry.
I was just going to ask you about that. Yeah.
The 312 versus the 509, and I mean you could flip a coin in my opinion over who's going to score more fantasy points, Lewis or Henry. I might even take Lewis in that bet.
21 picks separate him. That is fantastic value for Goodison to get Lewis there. Based on where Michael Goins took Derrick Henry. Not that we want to compare. We don't want to compare the two because obviously everybody has their own strategy and in different situations. But Dion Lewis in the 5th round, certainly, it's not num, but it's close. Chris Hogan goes to Tim McCullough right after Dion Lewis. Hogan is the 3rd receiver drafted by the Fantasy Pros Scribe. Marvin Jones goes to Brian Holgen, Scott Campbell there. And then Michael Crabtree completing the 5th round to Michael Goins. Crabtree is another guy I think that is going to be on a lot of my teams this year. I think he's going to get a ton of targets in Baltimore. I think people underrate him because of his age. That Baltimore threw more than anybody else in the league last year, Dave, and I don't think it changes.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't think it changes much this year. Now the question.
Flacco, was he top 5?
No, he wasn't good.
Oh.
Now here's where it comes into play.
Yeah.
It is brand new with all the receivers that they have, and we don't know when or if Lamar Jackson is going to take over this season. So that's a bit of a curveball in drafting Crabtree, but push all that aside, and I think it's a smart thing to do to get him here at the end of the 5th round. I love it.
Yeah, there's another player I probably would take ahead of him, but I actually like Crabtree this year. I think he has a good shot to be decent. He's a pretty safe pick, actually. He's a consummate professional player just because he moved to a new team. He's a pretty good player, though.
People always want to know when the quarterbacks are going to start going off the board. Well, tonight they fell all the way to the 6th round. 601, Aaron Rodgers to Michael Goins there. He gets the number 1 quarterback in fantasy football. Well, at least the first one drafted in this draft. Doesn't matter that he has paper collarbones. Maybe that doesn't matter. Ronald Jones Ronald Jones off the board for Brian Holgen here at the 602. You know, Ryan Links. Ryan Santos, of course, a guest of the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, and a pro in this year's competition from Dynasty Football Factory. He will actually be drafting. Ryan Santos.
Okay, right.
Will be drafting in the Pros vs. Joes competition this year, and he actually is commenting in the YouTube chat that we have going. He said he loves Brian Holgen and Scott Campbell's start here from the 11 spot. Thinks that they're doing a really good job. Just wasn't a big fan of the Marvin Jones pick, but he likes the rest of it. Back-to-back Jones there for Holgen and Campbell. And you talked about the value. Ronald Jones is the 602.
Yeah, that's a full round of ADP value. How much worse is Ronald Jones than Rashad Penny, Darius Geis, or any of those other rookie running backs?
In my opinion,
I think he's about the same.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's not a round and a half worth or whatever it was here.
He's a super talented player, and like we talked about this on prior shows.
Yeah.
The one thing I liked about Sammy Watkins years ago is that he just watches. You know, he kind of is like a baller. He comes out, and, you know, he just has this professional aura around him. And I watched a 10-minute interview that then you came by my computer at work and watched Rojo talking. And he just has this aura about him. I just love watching him.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, man. Oh, yeah, they threw me some passes. Oh, yeah, I didn't do that much at USC.
Yeah.
It's cool, man. You know, he's just like,
I'd run the 40 then. I'll run it then.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah.
What do you want to...
What's the goal?
4-3. Pretty much.
Try to do 4-3. 4-3, is that the goal? Yeah, it's the goal. I'm probably going to do it, though.
That's what he's talking
about. It's totally chill, taking it in.
Totally chill, totally cool. And his trapezius muscles, he's wearing like a... They're like on top. They're like stacked on top of each other.
Traps on traps on traps.
Yeah, they're like a foot tall.
Yeah.
The guy is ripped. And by the way, he was 210 by the way when he was running this year.
Yeah.
He's not a 200-pound back. He's not Jamal Charles, where he's 6 foot 197.
But there's a lot of people that compare his game to Jamal.
They do. I mean, he's an incredibly fast guy. He was a track star in high school.
Yeah.
I think
did he run track at USC too? I feel like
I think he did for like a year and then failed.
Then he realized like,
I can't do this.
I gotta have a future in professional football here. How much of this, and I want to get to the phone line shortly, so make this quick. How much of him falling to the 6th round, do you think Jameis Winston's suspension has anything to do with that? People down on the offense for the first 3 weeks of the season?
Well, they have tough games too, and they're likely to lose those games from what people are talking about.
So the game script should not be going in Jones' favor.
Probably not.
And there's still Peyton Barber farting around in the backfield there.
I'm not too worried about him. I know Dirk Ketter's been talking crap to Rojo. Probably because Rojo walks around there like Dirk Ketter's this old white fart, which he is.
Hey, Rojo, what do you think of your coach? Man, he all right.
Yeah.
I don't think he likes me much, but
kind of did.
He'll start liking me. Just bust off a 50-yard run in preseason, he'll start liking me.
That's pretty much it.
He's going to have love for me, too.
I feel like you totally nailed Rojo.
Yeah, well, maybe. Yeah, it's an impression of your impression of Ronald Jones. Let's get out of this and go to the phone line. 626 joins us. You are on the air in the Pros vs. Joes coverage with Balky and Dave. To whom are we speaking?
This is Kurt Geek. It's Team 2, or 3. How are you?
Doing good, Kurt. Not as good as your team. Everybody expected you to put together a strong squad, and through 7 rounds here, I think you've done just that. You've had a lot of practice doing a lot of drafts with football guys and everything like that. But tell us your overall impression of the squad you've put together thus far.
I like the squad. I'm not getting Bell or Gurley. I think Elliott's going to get a lot of work this year. They've got no receivers down there yet that have stepped up. Christian McCaffrey is going to, I think, continue his PPR gold. I like Cohen's upside, especially since Nagy mentions him in every other sentence that he says.
You're right.
I'd like to get a tight end in the first 3 or 4 picks, so I was happy to get Ertz in the 3-hole. And then trying to put together, just a squad of receivers who can get a lot of targets and, make some points.
Yeah, talk a little about that Julian Edelman pick that you took at the 703, because we know he's suspended for the first 4 games of the season. Do you think that he's being unfairly penalized, given the fact that people know he's going to miss 4 weeks? But in this format, he could be a beast down the stretch for New England.
Yeah, I like him. I like to pick up the value of guys who are suspended. I've got Ingram in a bunch of leagues. Got him cheap. He was going late second earlier in the season, and now you're getting him much later than that. So the same thing with Edelman. I mean, these are guys who will provide value for me down the road, and I have no problem picking them up, especially in this format, and just letting them sit for a while.
Was there anything that you've seen? We talked, Dave and I were talking about this being a tight end friendly draft. In other words, people weren't like, scooping them up super early as what we've seen in the past. Is there anything else that, as you look at the draft by and large right now, is there anything that has stood out to you, or any teams that you think are really doing a great job of formulating some strong organizations here?
Yeah, actually, I'm at a handicap on that because I can't pull up the draft board from my draft room, so I don't know what anybody else looks like.
So you're seeing your team and drafting blind the rest of the way. Well, you're doing a good job of it, I'll tell you that.
I prefer that because otherwise I look at other people's teams and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to get a kicker. So, yeah.
Well, Kurt, listen, get more than one kicker tonight.
Kurt's up right now.
For the love of God. Well, no, we're on a delay right now.
Sorry.
So, yeah. Kurt, we'll fake it till we make it here. Make it seem like you are making this pick on the air, your 8th round pick, and take us through the thought process here.
Let's see. I am on the clock here. So my thought process is, do I want to grab a quarterback or wait a bit, which will probably be my tendency. And I've got some guys on my queue who offer some interesting upside. In this format, you guys were talking about the Deshaun Jackson type of character. That's the type of player that I like to get in best ball because there'd be weeks where they'll have one catch for 10 yards, and then there'll be other weeks where they put up a lot of points in yardage. So with that in mind, and adding to my wide receiver stable, I'm going to take a speedster from Texas. And there he is.
Speedster from Texas.
Mark Fuller.
Will Fuller.
Wait, no, that was my friend from high school.
From high school. Yeah, Will Fuller is who you're talking about there. Yeah, Will Fuller, boy, he was fantastic in limited action with Deshaun Watson last year. And if you can extrapolate that type of performance over 16 games, you are going to have some pretty big boom weeks with Will Fuller to get him in the 8th round. That makes a lot of sense there. So you got 4 receivers, you got 3 running backs, you got a tight end on board through 8 rounds. It looks like a very strong start. A lot of people expected big things from you, Kurt, tonight in this draft. I don't think you're letting them down. You are certainly putting together a monster here. We will let you get back to it. I want to thank you for calling in so much, and we'll see you in Vegas. And boy, how many?
By the way, Bucky, this is only 4 billable minutes.
This is like 5.
4 minutes. All
right.
Only bill us for 4 minutes.
So yeah, so the good doctor is only going to bill us for 4 minutes, which I appreciate. And we will see you in Vegas in a few weeks, my friend.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to High Society in particular. So we'll have a good time.
Yeah, for sure, man. Talk to you soon.
Be safe. Bye-bye.
Kurt Kikas, ladies and gentlemen, drafting onto the 3 spot tonight. Just heard him take Will Fuller in the 8th round.
High Society, Bucky. Talk about that a little bit.
I will in a second. What the hell happened to your microphone?
The little.
Were you just so wringing your hands about how much money we just had to pay Kurt Kikas to come on the air and
Just like
is it good now? Did you fix it?
Yeah, I screwed it back in. It's like the little pad.
Oh, there's a screw on there? Okay, that's fine.
I think so. Well, yeah.
Dave just went Incredible Hulk on his pop filter tonight.
What they call that?
Yeah, it's a pop filter.
I'm not an industry guy like you are, Bob.
Yeah, I'm definitely not an industry guy either. Okay, fantastic stuff from Kurt Kikas. We'll talk about High Society.
I've interviewed her for longer than 4 minutes.
It is the creme de la creme of all the high stakes, the live high stakes leagues we offer out at Planet Hollywood in September every year. It is a $10,000 buy-in.
And interestingly enough, Rounders is on in the background right here in our studio.
Yes, which is where the name came from. But it's a $10,000 buy-in. What's first place? 100 grand? 80 grand? 70 grand?
I forgot
too. But anyway.
Overall payouts are like 115.
But yeah, I mean, Kurt picks drafts in that this year. David Hubbard is obviously going to be in it. We have Jeff Tirabassi in that.
Yeah, I'm sure he's in it.
Darren Summer has been in it before, had a lot of success. Darren Summer might actually be the defending champion. Glenn Lowy actually won it back-to-back years too. So he'll be in it again this year. That's a fantastic draft to follow. I want to get back.
We don't let Alex get near the playing cards at all for drawing.
We have not, yeah. He has not screwed that up except for 1 year. Speaking of screwing things up, I've kept this guy on hold way too long. Let's go to the 610. Who are we talking to tonight?
It's Todd Burrows. How are you?
Todd, good to talk to you, man. And you are also, it's kind of a interesting situation for you. You get a lot of action tonight because you are not on the end. So you're always in the thick of it every single round, picking from the 6th spot. We are 8 rounds in. You've done a ton of best balls so far this year. How does this one rate with a lot of the drafts you've done?
You guys mentioned that if I do FFPCs, I did 17 last year. I won 4 of them. So I played FBG the last couple of years, so I'm real familiar with the format. That's why I got my 2 tight ends when I did. I was just super stoked last round. The quarterback started going, and I got Cam to stack with Olsen. So the 6th spot is kind of a blessing and a curse. I like in FFPCs being on the corner because I feel like I can start runs sometimes. And one of my sayings is it's much better to start a run than finish a run. But I think my team's solid. I feel like most rounds the guy I wanted was there, or someone that I liked and that was on a tier close to what I wanted. So I can't complain so far.
Let's kick things off with your analysis of your first-round pick here, because the 6 is an interesting one. And whoever picks there is going to have their pick of some pretty interesting running backs, and you did tonight. You could have gone Saquon Barkley, you could have gone Fournette, Kareem Hunt. I've seen all those guys go at the 6th spot. Another guy that has been going at the 6th spot quite a bit this year has been Alvin Kamara. That's who you decided to go with there. Talk a little bit about why Kamara stood out as the pick for you in the first round.
I wasn't on Kamara early. I felt like he was going a little early. I thought that we had a little bit of possibility of regression. I still worry about it a bit, but with Ingram missing a few games, he's clearly the next best guy there. As good as Barkley could be, there's a lot of mouths to feed in New York, which is why I took Rudolph over Ingram. So I'm on the clock, by the way, and I think I'm going to make you guys happy with a little bit of a reach here. Take a look and tell me what you think.
So this is for the 9th round. You are on the clock. You already have 3 running backs in your arsenal. You have 2 receivers, 2 tight ends, and you went quarterback the last round. You go quarterback again this round. You did make us happy because you were taking one of our favorite quarterbacks this year, one of the highest upside quarterbacks out there, and that is Kansas City's own Patrick Mahomes. Dave, you look at this QB combo for Todd right here, Newton and Mahomes, man, that is juicy, very, very juicy, and you should have honestly, 20-point week at quarterback almost every week is almost assured, in our opinion. 25. Maybe even 25. One of
my studies is, because scoring for quarterbacks is so flat, I feel like you gain super with these guys who put up the big weeks. I feel like if you look at win percentage in MFL 10s, which I've done, last year Russell Wilson was when Carson Wentz went down. Russell Wilson had a higher win rate than Wentz, even though Wilson was going 6 rounds earlier than Wentz was, which is a little bit of a disconnect. And then I saw that Newton was second. So this year I've really been chasing the 30-point week guys. And in this kind of draft, you normally get 3 QBs instead of 2. So I don't mind pairing 2 guys with a lot of upside. And, this is also a fun draft. You want to make a name for yourself. So I would have loved to have waited another round, but I heard you guys talking about Mahomes earlier, so I figured I'd just get it over with and take him.
Yeah, you might have said, listen, get your guys and make sure you get them before anybody else does. This roster you're putting together, you have a lot of my favorites this year on your team. Allen Robinson, Kyle Rudolph, Corey Davis, Patrick Mahomes, obviously. Those are all guys that I really like. So hopefully I'm dialed in, Dave, and I'm not, liking all these busts like I normally do. But the fact that
now I'm getting worried that you like my team. Mike Beers told me last year you were killing his team, and he won the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, okay. So I'll dial back my praise a little bit just so you have a shot here. Listen, we all follow you on Twitter at Todd from PA. Tell us what you're doing right now as far as what you have coming down the pike for podcasts, for writing that people should be checking out.
I do a weekly podcast and article for Fanball. Last week we did a live draft, Mike Oliva and I, and my podcast is, I feel like I don't get the listens that some people get, but that most of the people who listen to my podcast are hardcore best ball guys. And I try and get guests, a lot, I've had Ryan Links on a few times. Dan Williamson is a regular. Guys who might be a little under the radar for the average podcast, but are really good best ball minds, and we try and look at things a little bit differently. So if you love best ball and you like, someone who tries to be funny but probably fails, my podcast.
That's ball humor.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, no, I listen. I am going to have to make sure I'm listening more closely. Clearly, I'm doing it wrong.
So it's blogtalkradio.com /
Run to Daylight.
Run to Daylight. That's
Run to Daylight. The old Vince Lombardi. Yeah, and I actually used the old NFL Films opening with Lombardi saying what the hell's going on out there. So if you know the history, I'm an old guy. I'm 55. You'll get some of the references and the dad puns.
Yeah, what the hell is going on out here is also what people say when they listen to our show, like within the first 5 minutes, almost every episode.
At Todd from PA, I just followed you.
Yep, exactly.
Todd
and
with
check out his work at RotoViz. Todd with 1D. And we will check out your work at RotoViz, at Football Diehards, blogtalkradio.com / Run to Daylight. Todd, thanks so much for joining the show. Best of luck to you the rest of the way, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Todd Burrows, ladies and gentlemen. Todd from PA.
That was a real treat.
Yeah, excellent best ball guy. Dan Williamson. By the way, you talk about these under-the-radar guys, and Ryan Santos and Dan Williamson. I question how under the radar are they, because they're very vocal on Twitter, and you can get a lot of great information from these guys who are doing a lot of FFPC best balls out there.
I don't like listening to podcasts, but I would actually like to listen to him because he actually felt like a good, modest person, not like these egomaniacs like you and me, and then the other ones that I
we're egomaniacs.
Well, and then the other ones that I hate too that are even worse than us.
Yeah.
We got to get a nice person like him.
Yeah. He was great, and more important than nice. Well, not more important than nice, but he was also extremely knowledgeable. Well, let's get back to it here. I believe we left off at the sixth. Were we at the end of the? No, we're at the start of the sixth round, right? Yeah, Ronald Jones. Alshon Jeffrey to Tim McCullough there at his fourth straight receiver. Jordan Reed is the second tight end drafted by Doug Goodison here in the sixth round. Royce Freeman, J.J. Zachariason is his number 3 running back. Let's talk about this here for a second. We'll touch on what Scott Johnson did here. He gets Chris Thompson in the 6th. He also has Darius Geis in the 3rd. Do you think that's a smart pairing to lock up that Washington backfield with a 3rd and 7th round pick?
It seems early for Chris Thompson, but it seems like a good move overall.
Because he has Geis.
Yeah, but I mean, where does Chris Thompson normally go?
He's getting his guys, Dave. We brought it up before.
All right, whatever.
Yeah, Chris Thompson normally goes at the 702.
All right, so he's more of 80. That's fine then, yeah. Sure.
Yeah, okay. So we're on board. Corey Davis right after that to, as we mentioned, to Todd Burrows. Thanks for calling in, Todd. Marshawn Lynch, the 3rd running back drafted by Bob Beyondich and Mark Williams. Devin Funchess, Tariq Cohen, Trey Burton goes to Mike Tagliere as his number 1 tight end, and Pierre Garcon to Larry Weinhauer to complete the 6th round. Trey Burton, how when you're waiting to take your first tight end until the 6th round, how comfortable would you be with Burton as your number 1?
I wouldn't be super comfortable with that, to be honest.
I think I'd be okay as long as I hit the position again.
If he'd be the first of my trio of crappy tight end strategies. That would be the first.
I question how crappy Trey Burton is, but yes, I get it.
He's never had more than how many yards receiving in a season?
I know, but we're not. I'm not here to talk about the past, Dave. We're projecting. It's all about.
Saquon Barkley's never had more than 0 yards rushing in a season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he's going in the 1st round. I mean, my God. Pierre Garcon ends the 6th round. Cameron Brate off the board to Larry Weinhauer at the 701, followed by Russell Wilson to Mike Tagliere. He is the 2nd quarterback off the board, the first one to the Fantasy Pros veteran. Julian Edelman to Kurt Kikas, Emmanuel Sanders after that to Josh Hayes as his number 3 receiver here in the 7th round. Marlon Mack off the board. This is an interesting, we'll talk about the running back stable that Bob and Mark are putting here together at the 5 spot, because it's an interesting stable. It's an interesting approach to the draft that they've had thus far. Rex Burkhead to Todd Burrows. Jarvis Landry, George Kittle, and Duke Johnson are the next 3 picks off the board here in the 7th. Nick Chubb, Tevin Coleman, and Kerryon Johnson complete the 7th round. As we look at that 7th round, I mean, we can talk about Duke Johnson. He goes 1 pick ahead of Nick Chubb, and Kerryon Johnson also makes it up to the 7th round as Michael Goins' number 3 running back. What stands out to you as you look at this 7th round across the board? I'll leave it up to you, Dave. Pick any player you want to talk about.
Any one player?
Any one player, or any two players, or a trend that you see in the 7th round here. We saw our second quarterback go off the board. We see in the 7th round 2 tight ends off the board, and by my count, I believe we have 12 off the board at the end of the 7th round, which to me seems low given the FFPC drafts I've commissioned.
Yeah, the tight end's been really balanced. I think that's pretty fair to everybody. That's nice. I think the Kerryon Johnson pick, the 7-12, it's really interesting. Detroit has been so dissatisfied with Amir Abdullah. The rest of the running backs are just meh. They're nothing, right? They traded up to get Kerryon Johnson. He goes in he's like one of the last running backs to go in that first round of Dynasty rookie drafts. He goes like the 109, 110, right around the Royce Freeman range.
Right.
But I think they really want him to be the guy, to be the ball carrier. And he's it's an 8-8 team or better. I think Kerryon Johnson at 7-12 is a really solid pick. It has a lot of upside, actually, and it's cheap. Yeah, it's super cheap compared to some of these other picks.
Yeah,
I mean, Nick Chubb, you still have to worry about Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson.
Right.
So,
well, I mean, but hold on.
I don't think Kerryon Johnson's going to be a 300 carry back and get all the carries and all the catches. I'm saying he's got a lot of upside.
He normally goes at the 6'11".
I didn't even know that, but that's a 13 pick value.
Right.
Okay.
I think if you're drafting Nick Chubb or Carlos Hyde, you're sort of accepting Duke Johnson as being a thorn in your side. The question is whether you believe in Chubb or Hyde.
You don't have to worry about that with the guy who went 2 picks later.
Right, exactly. Moving on to the 8th round, another Gerzak whipping boy, Randall Cobb, leading things off there at the 8th round to Michael Goins.
I hate the Randall Cobb pick as much as I like. I'm just kidding. I just think Cobb just generally sucks. Right. But I mean, with Aaron Rodgers, hey, you got a hookup.
I was reading some interesting stuff on Draft Sharks about Randall Cobb. I think you should check it out.
Would they like him?
Well, I'm not going to say whether they like him or hate him this year. I'm just going to say that they had some very interesting stats that I did not realize about Cobb and the Packers offense. So.
Well, that's good. I'd like to hear why he's caught 600
Well, Dave,
yards.
you're going to have to log into your draft.
yards and 4 touchdowns for the past 2 seasons.
You're going to have to log into your Draft Sharks account. And
sure, there's a reason for that.
Yeah. Deshaun Watson, the number 3 quarterback off the board here to Brian Holgen and Scott Campbell. Tom Brady right after that. Tim McCullough takes him there. Scott Johnson actually texted us during the show and said that he was going to take Brady to get his average age bumped up. But clearly that did not happen as Brady goes off the board as the number 4 quarterback. This is round 8 is really where the quarterbacks started coming off the board. Devontae Parker, Robert Woods, and Jamison Crowder, all 3 right in a row. Dave, which is your favorite receiver there as Parker goes to Goodison, Woods goes to Zachariason, and Crowder goes to Johnson? If you could pick any one of those guys on your team this year, who would it be?
Crowder.
Totally agree. Who's number 2?
Oof. Oh, man. I don't know. Neither?
Well, you got to pick one.
Cobb?
No, not, yeah.
I know.
That's very funny.
I don't like Woods all that much. I don't like Parker all that much. I guess I'm taking...
I would lean towards Woods over Parker.
I think I'm taking...
Parker does have the
I'll take Parker as a flyer.
For the umpteenth season in a row has
hey, this is Parker's year.
Yeah.
Just like the last 2 years.
That should be a team name. This is Devontae Parker's year. That's a great fantasy team name. But you got to take Devontae Parker then. Cam Newton to Todd Burrows.
Devontae Parker's year.
Once again, I have an idea. You just make it better.
Whatever.
Jamal Williams is the 5th straight running back taken by Bob Beyondich and Mark Williams here, the FFPC Joe team drafting out of the 5 spot. They kicked things off, Dave, with 3 straight receivers, followed up with 5 straight running backs. Ingram, Miller, Lynch, Mack, Jamal Williams. In this format, best ball, normally you see the running backs go early, and then you pepper in the receivers. They flipped the script here. What do you make of it?
I like it to some extent, but I think if you're going to be a power team with your main thing is going to be receivers. So you take those 3 rounds, you're going to spend it on receivers. Now you have a huge advantage of receiver. So what do you do with that huge advantage? You piss it away for your next 8 rounds or whatever and draft every other position. It's like you should accept that your running backs are going to be kind of crappy. Maybe take 3 running backs out of those 5 rounds and just accept that your running backs are not going to be great. But mix in some other good receivers. Your receivers are amazingly good. That's what I would have done. So I don't really, no offense to those guys, I just don't really care for doing it that way. Because now you have 3 good receivers. They're like, okay, there's bye weeks and stuff, right? So now you're going to be starting these, these running backs where you just don't even know how good they're going to be at flex. And you have your 3 receivers, and maybe one will be on bye. And it's a little bit of a problem for me.
Okay, can I
go ahead
offer a contradictory opinion on this?
Well, you asked mine, and I gave you mine.
And I appreciate it. It's not like I was looking for a fight here, but you got one, my friend. You look at these running backs here. you make a great point by saying we don't know how good they're going to be. Okay, they could totally suck, but let's look at the upside here for a second. Mark Ingram, who I believe is being unfairly punished for his. Not by the NFL. No, not by the NFL. Being unfairly punished by FFPC drafters because of his suspension. I think he is a good value there in the 4th.
I kind of agree. Actually, individually, I kind of agree.
Okay, now let's move on. Lamar Miller. You and I do not. You totally flipped me on Deontay Foreman. I am totally off him right now.
Yeah, Achilles, he's out.
Being a starting running back in an elite offense like this that you can get in the 5th round.
Elite offense.
Oh, I don't know about that because Deshaun Watson was looking like he was breaking records on a weekly basis last year when he was healthy.
Yeah, running the ball.
No, he wasn't always running the ball.
Was Lamar Miller getting 7 yards of carry in that elite offense?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
3.8.
Foreman was healthy then too.
Right.
Maybe he is the accumulator this year.
Sure.
But again, 5th round, Dave. Okay?
Yeah, I understand that.
You move on, you have Marshawn Lynch running behind one of the best offensive lines in football, and John Gruden, who clearly thinks it's 1998 where you can have these bell cow type running backs.
Lynch is washed up.
Okay, again, 6th round.
He's garbage.
He's not garbage. He's definitely not garbage.
He was garbage last year. He's going to be garbage plus a year this year.
Marlon Mack playing for the Colts, a situation that they're just begging somebody to step forth. They have no. He does not suck. You know, you throw the word suck around so much.
Do I?
He has, I don't know, right now you are. For the purposes of this argument, you are.
All right.
You have Jordan Wilkins there. You have Naheem Hines there. And really not, and Robert Turbin suspended for the first 4 games. There's not a whole lot else. I mean, Marlon Mack could clearly take the reins there. And then you have Jamal Williams in a much more elite offense. A much more elite offense in Green Bay, where they don't really have a guy. Aaron Jones suspended for the first 2 years. I mean, I'm seeing clear paths where these guys can easily outperform these draft spots. So I am not nearly as critical about what Beyondich and Williams are doing.
Hang on 1 second.
What are we doing? Is this the Marlon Mack thing?
Okay, so Jamal Williams averaged 3.6 yards per carry last year. Marlon Mack averaged 3.8 yards per carry last year.
Okay.
Lamar Miller averages 3.8 yards per carry going to the grocery store.
Right.
These guys all suck. Marshawn Lynch, I guarantee he didn't average 4 yards per carry.
I have no idea.
But I'm telling you, it's like if you want to get the group of crappy guys that don't quite get to what the baseline level of a productive NFL running back is, there you go. There's the list. They're right down the list. Boom, 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 boom. Five crappy running backs that can't get to 4 yards of carry. Congratulations. Okay,
my point is that these guys have massive opportunities in front of them, and I guarantee you at least 2 of these guys outperform where Beyondich and.
You know what? My apologies. Lynch 4.3 last year.
No, well, suddenly look at that. The number is not in your favor.
Also, 2 days ago, Marshawn Lynch announced the grand opening of the Beast Mobile store.
See? He's an entrepreneur. Smart guy.
He's busy. He doesn't even care about football.
Exactly. I don't want him to care about football right now. I need his old-ass body healthy for the entire season.
All right. So Lynch was good. Ingram and Lynch were good.
Thank you.
We're going to 4 yards of carry.
By the way, if you like bickering like this, then why wouldn't you? The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, for those of you who are listening
it's
to
awful
it
every week on Friday.
Normally Friday nights, 10, 9 Central. You can also stream it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker, Overcast. We're on there as well.
Oh, hang on. There's something called Overcast.
Overcast, yeah.
Is that a weather app?
No, it is definitely not. It is a podcast app.
That's so stupid.
And we're on it. And clearly now that you've said that, they will never sponsor the show. So thank you very much. Carson Wentz is the pick right after Jamal Williams went to Josh Hayes from Rotoballer. Will Fuller, we heard that pick on the air from Kurt Kika, Sterling Shepard, and Jordy Nelson. Jordy Nelson seems like a little bit of a reach there in the 8th round to Larry Weinhauer. I love Jordy Nelson. I cannot, and maybe it's just, we do this show out in the shadow of Lambeau Field here in Northeast Wisconsin. I love Jordy Nelson. He's a Packer, and I mentioned this to you. I felt always defending him to anybody who's saying, oh, he's washed up, he can't do it anymore. Yeah, and now I feel like I'm on the opposite side. I never used that argument, but I'm on the opposite side.
They would use the argument.
Whatever. I'm on the opposite side of it, where it's hard for me to defend him being a meaningful fantasy player.
I feel like I'm on the opposite side of your argument.
But we already have a Jordy Nelson. I got 5 on it.
But I think you're right though. VH12, that seems a bit early. But I don't mind. Jordy I thought he was in the cheapy 10th round area.
I like the pick that that Larry Weinhauer made right after that, Jack Doyle at the 901. You are not an Ebroninator. I think Jack Doyle could be good again this year.
Well, the problem I have with Larry's tight end picks, no offense to Larry, but he has Cameron Braid who has to deal with O.J. Howard, and he has Jack Doyle who has to deal with Ebron. How about picking a guy who doesn't have to deal with somebody else?
But he also didn't soak a top 6-round pick into his tight end either.
But then he also didn't draft the other guy on the team. He could have drafted O.J. Howard to go along with Braid. He could draft Doyle, and he could draft, Ebron went right before he picked that. Or actually, he passed on Ebron at the 1101. He could have taken him instead of Corey Clement, a pedestrian Wisconsin-based running back who's not
that gosh. But are you sure you didn't take any Vicodin tonight? You are just
I'm just telling you,
spitting some spicy hot fire here on the airway.
I don't like Clement. I think you should have taken Ebron there.
This just in, Larry Weinhauer is out of all FFPC live events this year.
Well, just because I don't like a cookie mate doesn't mean he's going to hate me.
No, I'm sure he respects you more for being honest, so good for you. Aaron Jones right after that to Mike Tagliere for Fantasy Pros, C.J. Anderson, and then Ty Montgomery to Josh Hayes of Rotoballer. Drew Brees and Pat Mahomes. We heard the Pat Mahomes pick live on the air from Todd Burrows. You like that pick too, right?
Yeah.
Ninth round from Mahomes.
Yeah.
And
although, to be honest, Brees goes right. Well, actually, Brees went right
Brees
before.
Went right before.
All right, then I definitely like Mahomes.
Wait a minute. So who do you?
I would probably take Brees over Mahomes.
See, I would not. I would actually take Mahomes over Brees.
Brees is a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Yes, he was a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Mahomes has a body of work of 1 week. And
Saquon Barkley has no body of work, and he went in the first round. So let's stop throwing that argument out there right now.
By the way, but you're saying it like Saquon Barkley going in the first round is a proof of a good pick. We don't know if it's a good pick.
Oh, it's a good pick.
It could be a god-awful pick.
You just asked me. I'm all the proof.
The pick could be terrible.
No, come on. Terrible? Terrible, Dave? One of the greatest running backs to come out of the NFL draft in the last 15, 20 years?
That's what people would say about Trent Richardson after his rookie season when he got drafted in the first round of every draft.
Walked right into that one, didn't I? I knew you were going to say that.
It's not just him. There's all sorts of. Darren McFadden was terrible.
Well, I knew he was going to be terrible.
Cadillac Williams.
Yeah, I was never a big caddy guy.
Who's the other guy who was right around that spot?
Let me tell you about the guys.
There's been lots of top 15 running back picks have been burning money on.
But it's weird because I didn't think Cadillac Williams was going to be good. Here's who I did like: Todd Gurley, Ricky Williams.
Todd Gurley sucked as a sophomore.
Right, but I wasn't on him as a sophomore. I was on him as a rookie. So it's an ebb and flow.
So you're good at picking the rookie running backs. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Hindsight's 20/20. I may or may not have been on these guys, but that's the history I remember. Cooper Kupp right after Patrick Mahomes did. Cooper Kupp going to Scott Johnson.
Good pick, great pick.
I was just going to ask you, which pick do you like better, Mahomes or Kupp?
Oh, I love Kupp. Yeah. I can't go away from Cooper Kupp.
Naheem Hines. How did Scott Johnson let him slip by a rookie running back, slip through his fingertips there? Hines goes right off the board to right after Cooper Kupp to J.J. Zachariason, Marquise Goodwin, David Njoku, Isaiah Kroll, and then another one of your favorites, DJ Moore. I think we have a Cobb versus DJ Moore bet this year, and I think I'm on the DJ Moore side.
Shut up, really?
No, maybe not. I remember
that's implausible.
I remember it was a weird one. I'd have to bring it up.
I don't know how I could have. I must have been. I'm Vicodin and a bunch of alcohol or something. I took Cobb over.
By the way, we should let everybody know that Dave does not recreationally use Vicodin.
Right. I had a medical procedure last week. I'm not on it tonight.
Yes. So it
wasn't even that good. Seriously, I don't know why people use it. It's not even that good.
Okay.
I'm just telling you.
That's fine. Let's get out of this hole. And we'll go to the phone lines and take a caller from the 310 tonight. You are on the air with Balky and Dave on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Who are we speaking with?
Gentlemen, it's Zach Jarrows.
Oh, I'm sorry. Say that again. You cut out.
It's Zach Jarrows from the Boobs Love on the Pacific Fringe brain.
Yes. Zach Jarrows, you and Shane Gray obviously were in this competition last year, and you're tuning in tonight to check things out. What's been your
part of the elevator group, right?
Yeah, yes, part of the elevator group.
Have you retained your health? I got stuck in an elevator in 2008, the first year of FFPC with these gentlemen for 90 minutes at the Mirage, and I'm fine. I'm not claustrophobic. How are you guys doing?
It was a rough night, but that many years removed, I believe I've recovered. I believe I'm functioning fully and properly at this point. Yeah.
Thank God. We're glad you called in. Balky, go ahead.
Well, I just want to bring this up because Zach, you've been watching the draft tonight. You already said you liked Kirk Kikis' team out of the 3 spot. What else has stood out to you as a seasoned veteran of the Pros versus Joes? What else has stood out to you tonight?
we got the Pros versus Joes last year, so I figured I had to call in. Well, first I got to say, I got two observations for you. One, Dizzle is a little extra salty tonight. I will say that you're right on point with that ball. And actually, what prompted me to call in was the statement that you'd rather have Mahomes than Breeze. Like, you got to rein that in a little, Bach. I'm with Dizzle on that one. Like, it's exciting when we get on the bandwagon with some of the new sexy picks, but you got to pump the brakes a little when you start putting the kid before Breeze. Okay?
Thank you.
Here's the thing. Here's the problem with that. Not only am I on the Pat Mahomes bandwagon, I can't pump the brakes because I'm driving it and I've already cut them. We're only going one speed on the Patrick Mahomes bandwagon. It is full steam ahead. I like it. That said, I'm the king of saying certain things on these airwaves and then doing the exact opposite when I'm actually drafting. So, I mean, you never know. I might end up taking Breeze over Mahomes. It hasn't happened yet. I've been drafting Mahomes, right around where he's going, and I still would. Man, maybe I'm just in love with the upside too much, and I have to revisit. But I like Mahomes quite a bit this year. So
I like it.
I like the fact that what prompted you to call in was to rip on me, which I always appreciate. But you obviously like Kirk Kekas's team. Do you have any other favorites as you watch the draft picks pile up tonight?
Let's see. I do like Kirk's team. He went with sort of a classic approach of waiting on quarterback, and that allowed him to sort of build a solid squad, and he's still got a tight end he can hang his hat on. So I like that quite a bit. Let's see. Team 11 I like as well.
I agree.
I do like that team. If I was trying to pick a hole in that team, I might say, as much as I love Gronk, and I love Gronk in the first round, I kind of like trying to pair him with somebody else sort of solid because of the injury and all that. And even though I've always kind of liked Austin Seferian-Jenkins, I liked him a little bit last year. I'm not sure he's a guy I'd want to hang my hat on as my number 2 if I'm riding Gronk. But I like what he did with loading up with Gronk and wide receivers, and then taking a couple stabs at running back and getting some value. And to Dizzle's point, something this team did which I like, unlike the Team 5. I know you didn't necessarily like going with those 5 backs in a row, but it's almost like when you start wide receiver heavy or wide receiver tight end heavy, you feel like you got to start really hitting those backs, and if you can resist that temptation a little bit and still keep grabbing value, I think you could end up with a pretty solid squad. Although I don't mind, one thing I do kind of like about the team a little bit is I have a little bit of a Mark Ingram, Jamal Williams thing. I've paired them a couple times in best ball this year just because you're going to lose Ingram for 4, and you're going to get 2 solid out of Jamal, and you get a little bit of a hedge there. But there's a lot of good teams. I mean, all the pros, and the Joes that are in this, they're here for a reason.
As long as we have you on, Zach, I want to go through the 10th round because it was sort of like the round of quarterbacks thus far in the draft. In the 10th round, Chris Carson, Robbie Anderson, O.J. Howard, Carlos Hyde, Kelvin Benjamin, Tyler Eifert all go off the board. We don't necessarily need to talk about them so much, but I'm curious as to your favorite quarterback that went off in the 10th round because we had a bevy of them. Jimmy Garoppolo, Matthew Stafford, Kirk Cousins, and then Ben Roethlisberger, Andrew Luck, Phillip Rivers. Those were the 6 quarterbacks that made up half the round in round 10. Out of all those 6 quarterbacks, does one stand out? Do you have a favorite among those 6 guys?
Not necessarily. I got the board up and I'm looking at it. I like the Garoppolo pick because he's number 2 behind Brady, so that's fine. Garoppolo is a number 1 this year. Might be a little cart before the horse. It might be a little Patrick Mahomes hype. Stafford is absolutely solid as your number 1. Cousins is absolutely solid as your number 1. I talked about Kirk's team. I think I heard him comment that he was waiting on quarterback, and he was in the spot to do it. If you're going to pass on quarterback going up in 9, you got to hope a little bit of what's going to be there for you on the 10-11 swing. And getting Roethlisberger and then still getting somebody to pair with him, I thought was great. I might take Matt Ryan over Jared Goff, but I like that, and I love Andrew Luck as a number 2 quarterback, and you can put him with Russell Wilson. I mean, you got all the upside of Luck, and you've got a guy who's going to throw the ball a ton this year, who's an excellent number 1. when Dizzle commented earlier about the Corey Clement pick, and he was saying he might have taken Ebron there to pair with Doyle. I was kind of hoping to see Larry take another quarterback there because I was worried about who was going to be his number 2 quarterback coming back as well. But, you know, I love Rivers, but Rivers is a perennial fringe, 10, 12 quarterback. So, you know, you got to love your number 1 there, and you might want to try to hit up that a little bit more with a backup guy.
Yeah, for sure. All great analysis from you, Zach, and you're obviously a highly accomplished player in the high-stakes field. We'll see. Are we going to see you out in Vegas this year at Planet Hollywood?
Of course, I'll be in the bare knuckles again with Shane, and we'll be there for the main event. So 100%, I look forward to seeing you guys. I had to call in, too, to say that now that I'm talking to you guys, it's officially the season. It's officially here. So.
Yeah, baby.
And listen, I'll leave you this. I've just been updating my quarterback rankings while I've been on the phone with you. I have Mahomes and Breeze in a dead heat for 8. So there you go. That's the power of boobs love them, Dave.
No side
the
bet.
Franchise haven't. Yeah, exactly. Thanks so much, Zach, for calling in. We really appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
Take care, guys. Have fun.
All right, thanks, man.
Zach Jaros, of course, he is one half of the Boobs Love 'em franchise, along with Shane Gray. Been guests on the High Stakes Lowdown, been guests on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, and very successful players. So awesome to see.
Yeah, they're great.
You know, and this
they're always good-natured, happy fellows.
Yes, they are. And this is the reach of the PBJ, where we have like FFPC guys just tuning in that aren't even in the draft. They're like, okay, I got to see what this guy's doing. I got to see what this guy's doing, and see what's going on. So that we kind of went through the 10th round a little bit there with Zach. So we'll move on to the 11th. You talked about Corey Clement going to Larry Weinhauer, Eric Ebron going right after that to Mike Tagliere as his number 2 tight end. Jared Goff, Matt Ryan, Zach talked about those guys going off the board there at the 11:03, 11:04. Vance McDonald is the 2nd tight end selected by the Beyondich Williams franchise there at the 5 spot. Kenny Golladay going off the board as the number 3 receiver to Todd Burrows. And I got to believe, David, you know, being as accomplished as Todd is as far as, you know, even FFPC drafts, which, you know, he talked about that he's the multi-league winner last year. You look at Golladay as his number 3 receiver, he's going to be pounding the receivers later on in this draft pretty hard, I would imagine.
Yeah, he definitely should. I know Golladay he's getting a lot of press about how great he supposedly is, but he's still the number 3 receiver on that team. Did
you see the quote from Golden Tate about Kenny Golladay?
I forgot what it was.
He said that some of the catches Golladay were making. He said Golladay was making freakish catches out there. I've never seen like an adverb and an adjective of the same word used back to back to describe a football player or plays before.
I'm sure Golden Tate was not an English major in college.
I have no idea what he majored in.
I'm going to find out.
We should get Rob on that. Well, just get Rob on.
Rob,
and
Golden
find
Tate.
out.
Where did he go to college? What did he major in?
Yeah, I know he went to Notre Dame. I can tell you that.
Well, it's a tough school to get into.
I don't know.
Unless you're an athlete.
I don't know what the English program is like at Notre Dame, so I couldn't tell you that. Alex Smith and Marcus Mariota are the 2 quarterbacks going right after that to Scott Johnson and J.J. Zachariason, respectively. And Nelson Aguilar, Rashard Matthews, back-to-back receivers there to Goodison and McCullough, and then Austin Safarian-Jenkins, and there's Jameis Winston as the number 2 quarterback drafted by Michael Goins here in the 11th round. So a lot of quarterbacks going off the board. Is this kind of what you expected as far as quarterbacks go, Dave, where the glut really started happening? I would say in like round 8, and then it sort of tapered off after the 11th. Is that? Do you think that that's normal? That's what we should be looking for as these pros versus Joe's drafts go on?
Yeah, that seems about right to me, actually.
You have, after the Jameis Winston pick, it's D.D. Westbrook going off the board to Michael Goins. Boy, these guys are really flying tonight. I feel like we normally we're not at this point of the draft.
I know, it's tough to keep up.
80 minutes in.
By the way, Golden Tate majored in sociology. He did leave college early for the pros. So, I mean,
Did he go back to get his degree?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe. I don't think so. But, I mean, when you leave early because you're going to go pro, I can't really blame the guy.
I don't blame anybody for that.
Right.
Listen, you go to college to set yourself up for your future.
Yeah, it's your career,
Your future is right there.
I think he's doing just fine. Nevertheless, he doesn't have to be a writer. He's an NFL wide receiver.
I also thought about leaving college a year early. There was rumors that I was going to be a lottery pick by ESPN in the top 10.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Damaged my vocal cords training for the podcasting combine.
Did you get noise?
And nodes.
Nodes.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I got nodes.
Sorry.
At the combine.
Pitch perfect.
Thank goodness the Podcasting Society allowed me to go back for my senior season and signed as an undrafted free agent with the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour.
I have a question for you. Do you think there's a major in podcasting anywhere?
Nope. I bet there will be soon.
What about it? Like, seriously,
I am being serious.
a tech school? I wonder if there's
I don't know. I don't know. You still have more.
Rob,
That's,
tech school.
we're not going to have him Google
What's
tech
the
school
podcasting
degrees,
major?
for God's sake. I mean, like, let the man actually do his work.
He isn't doing anything.
He's got to push the button.
He's
Get
not
these
doing
guys
jack.
D.D. Westbrook. Moving on.
Drop him.
At the 12:01.
Look it up.
Dave, enough. Kenny Stills at the 12:02. Charles Clay, the 12:03 selection to Tim McCullough as his number 2 tight end. I'm a little nervous about Tim's tight ends there, but I've said that before when he only drafted Antonio Gates in 28 rounds and won the whole thing.
Hey,
So,
speaking of Gates, he should draft him again.
yeah, there you go. I'll say this. If there, far be it for me to question Tim McCullough's tight end choices, because clearly he is operating on a higher level than any of us here. So he gets Clay in the 12th round, James White to Doug Goodison right after that. James White is the number 4 running back drafted by the FFPC, Joe, there. A pair of guys who were former teammates in Jacksonville. Alan Hearns moves on to the Dallas Cowboys, and now he moves on to J.J. Zachariason's squad here in the 12th round. Marquise Lee, the pick after that, to Scott Johnson. And then we get a bunch of tight ends and quarterbacks here to complete round 12. Jared Cook goes off the board as the number 3 tight end to Todd Burrows. I like that. Blake Bortles, the second quarterback drafted by Beyondich and Williams. Then you have Ricky Seals-Jones, a guy I drafted him in the Scott Fishbowl as my number 2 tight end. I felt pretty good about it. And then I see this whole being arrested nonsense because he couldn't find a bathroom that he was allowed to use in Phoenix or whatever it was. Serious question, does that concern you at all going forward as far as like a suspension or how Arizona is going to treat him going forward? Or is this sort of like a quote-unquote blip on the radar?
You know, I don't own Ricky Seals-Jones in Dynasty, so I have not read the detailed analysis or story about what exactly happened. I know that he got arrested.
Yeah. I mean,
don't really know
he
if
was trying to find a restroom to use, and he kept getting kicked out, and then he shoved a police officer.
What did he get kicked out for?
It was only for customers. He was going into a hotel or a restaurant or something.
Gotcha. I think that's a minor blip. I think that the more important news is that it's a new offense that's actually going to throw the tight ends. I think he's actually all right. I feel all right about Ricky Seals-Jones.
Text coming in from Kirk Kikis. Golden Tate is an outstanding grammar speaker. So great stuff from Dr. Feelgood there. Appreciate that. Where did I leave off? Ricky Seals-Jones. Mike Williams, the receiver, goes to the aforementioned Kirk Kikis there at the 12-10. Mitchell Trubisky and Derek Carr round out round 10. So we were talking about what quarterback, Zach Jaros was talking about. I'm nervous about what Weinhauer is going to get as his number 2 quarterback because he took Clement the 11th round. Still gets Derek Carr coming back to him. That's a nice little consolation prize. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I do like Derek Carr.
I do like Derek Carr.
He was super injured last year, according to you.
No, that was Amari Cooper who was super injured.
Well, I thought Carr was super injured too. They were both super injured.
They might have been.
And that's why Cooper sucked.
Nobody was as injured as Amari Cooper was last year. Clearly.
The unreported super injured.
Amari Cooper's up here. Derek Carr's right here. Everybody else is here. So.
And of course, Derek Carr now representing Maybelline instead of L'Oreal.
That was the big news.
So I think he's in good shape with the eyeliner.
Yeah.
It's a little bit blacker. If they call that the midnight black.
You know, there's actually some scuttlebutt going on with the move to Las Vegas. He might actually have to flip that again.
Really?
His eyeliner representative.
I got an idea for Derek Carr. You know, if I was his agent, I would tell him to open one of those temporary Halloween stores.
He could do that, or he could open up a burlesque show as well. That would also work well.
One of those tranny shows like in the birdcage.
Yeah, I don't want to get into all that, but I listen, Derek Carr has a very attractive face, and we'll just leave it at that.
I'm not saying he's the star. He's like the host. He was up and he's like, welcome to Derek Carr's birdcage.
If I
here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, if I made it seem like I wanted him to star in it, no, I think he would make an excellent MC for that because you don't, the thing is you get a guy like Derek Carr out there. As the main attraction, not so great. But
he probably doesn't know how to sing.
To have him be the host and then to build up to the show itself, I think that's the leap that you need to make.
That's better than the Halloween story. I like that. That's good.
Moving on to the 1301, a guy that Mike Kliss actually, Broncos beat reporter Mike Kliss reported that he expects to start the Broncos season opener at tailback. Devontae Booker at the 1301. This is an interesting pick, especially if he is the starter, getting a starting running back, Larry Weinhauer, in the 13th round here, Dave. Or are you not a fan of? I know you don't like Booker, but if he's got the job, he's got the job. Not like Royce Freeman was a first-round pick.
I agree, actually. I mean, when you look at the chasm between the 605 and the 1301, I feel like J.J. Zachariason, he's picking these other dudes, and he probably should have grabbed Booker at some point to just protect his Freeman pick, and he kind of left it alone. That's a little bit too much. It's a little too.
Unless you just don't believe in Booker.
Well, I don't believe in Booker myself. But
you still protect him if you have
Freeman. It's a little too cocky on Royce Freeman, in my opinion.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that ends up. I'm just thinking finally here that I see where you're coming at. I like the Josh Doctson pick at the 1302. There's some potential there for some upside. Mike Tagliere from Fantasy Pros grabbing Doctson there. Giovanni Bernard goes to Kurt Kikas there at the 1303. Eli Manning, Tyler Lockett, and Paul Richardson. So Lockett and Richardson, teammates last year in Seattle. Richardson moves on to Washington. Which Washington receiver do you like more this year that went in the 14th round in this draft? Dave, is it Doctson or is it Richardson?
I like Richardson
Do you?
much better. I think he's a far superior athlete, and he's shown a little bit more than Doctson. I actually like the Lockett pick, too. I know I've been crapping on Bobby on his picks. But
pretty good value.
Yeah, as his fourth wide receiver, that's a solid pick. And Todd needed a wide receiver as well. So Lockett and Richardson here are both really nice picks in the 13th round.
Totally agree. Austin Hooper is the number 2 tight end drafted by Scott Johnson. Dak Prescott and Case Keenum, a couple of quarterbacks going off the board. Prescott is Zachariason's second one. Case Keenum is the second one drafted by Doug Goodison. And then you have Bilal Powell and Theo Riddick going to Tim McCullough and Brian Holgen and Scott Campbell there back to back. And then Deshaun Jackson is the final pick of the 13th round. He going to Michael Goins. Moving on to the 14th round. Get out the boots, because we have 3 kickers going off in this 14th round. Always exciting to see how these runs go. You don't want to be, as David Hubbard would say, you don't want to be caught naked at kicker in this format. Not that he says that about kicker, but you don't, by that, I'm borrowing the analogy here.
Right.
You don't want to be caught on the runs here, and maybe that was the thinking here by Goins and Holgen, them being on the end, knowing that a kicker run is going to start here pretty quick. Why don't we just start it, and at least we're locked into an elite level kicker, and we'll see what makes it back to us in the 15th round. I think that had to go into that decision there.
Yeah, the way I look at kickers, because how I don't do a lot of drafts, and these guys do a ton of them. Right. But at this point, you don't really know who. For about maybe 10 teams, 8, maybe 7 or 8 teams, you don't really know who the kicker is going to be really. I just want to have 3 kickers where I'm like, that's the dude. Give me Lutz, Matt Bryant, and Graham Gano. Yeah, thanks. I'm done. I don't have to worry about hey, I'm not looking up depth charts on footballguys.com, seeing exactly who's still left and how many of these guys is he competing against. That's where I'm at with kickers.
Shane Hallam chiming in the Blog Talk Radio chat room. Damn, 2 kickers, and there's still a half hour left. I feel like you really don't get to kickers by the time the show ends usually, and I'm even further behind. Tons of kickers. We are too. There's been a lot of kickers off the board. They're crushing it tonight. If we were going for speed tonight, these guys would certainly be setting the pace as the league to look out for, because they are doing very, very well. Okay, so Justin Tucker right after Gostkowski. A pair of quarterbacks go after that. Who do you like better, Dave? Andy Dalton going to Tim McCullough, or do you like Ryan Tannehill more going to Doug Goodison?
I'm going to have to go with Dalton just because he has A.J. Green to throw to.
Right.
So, and then Tyler Eifert for 3 to 4 weeks, he probably will throw to, and that's it.
Okay, fair enough. Cameron Meredith, we talked about him on the show a little bit on Friday. He goes off the board here in the 14th round. Chris Ivory could be the starting running back for the Bills. Maybe, maybe not. We don't know.
Goodison, what are you thinking? Again, you could protect.
What are you talking about?
Goodison has Shady McCoy.
Oh, you say grab Ivory?
Yeah.
Again, the thing is, okay.
You don't know, granted, you don't know where Ivory's going to go. It's easy for us to look at that. Right. But nevertheless, it's like, I don't know.
There are some rumors being floated around the interwebs right now that Amir Abdullah actually could be shipped to Buffalo.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave that at that.
I'm sure Buffalo will give away a 1 round higher pick than they should.
What if it's okay, I get the joke now. Greg Zerline right after Chris Ivory. Greg the leg goes off the board there. Benjamin Watson, the guy who was off the Saints last year, really out of the NFL last year after he had that Achilles injury in Baltimore before the season started. He is back catching passes from quarterback about the same talent level as Patrick Mahomes, catching passes from Drew Brees this year is Ben Watson. Yes, thank you. And he goes there in the
well played, Baldy.
Thank you. In the 14th round, Doug Martin goes off the board right after that, and then we have some defenses this round as well. Jacksonville's defense goes to Kurt Kikas. T.J. Yeldon goes right after that to Mike Tagliere, and then completing round 14 is the Rams defense. It's crazy about the defenses, and I understand it's a different format, but I look at the football guys draft. Jacksonville's defense goes in like round 8, round 9.
Do they really?
Oh yeah, it's insane. Single-digit rounds for them. In fact,
that's kind of crazy.
Let me see if I can back this up with some actual figures, if I can find their ADP.
Yeah, we should really label these defenses better.
Why? What's wrong with them?
Well, it says LA. And then it says LAC, so it should say LAR.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, I totally agree with that. ADP of the 1105, they have gone as high as the 709 in FFPC best ball. So this is really good value, honestly.
It is.
For Kikas to get the Jaguars defense in round 14.
He's getting his guys.
He's one of the best. Or getting all 11 of his guys in the 14th round, as it were. Okay, sorry. Buck Allen. Javorius Buck Allen leads round 15 off.
He's still getting drafted?
Yep, he goes.
I was hoping he'd be out of the NFL by now.
What? As a late round pick, honestly, okay, let's.
I'm just getting a little sick of Buck Allen. I'm sick of his name.
Get all the jokes out. Let's look at Baltimore for a second. First of all, he already has Alex Collins. Larry Weinhauer has Alex Collins.
That's a good pick.
Kenneth Dixon, who knows? Maybe he'll be cut. We don't know. There's some upside with him, but there's a lot of dislike.
The Buck Allen pick's a good pick.
Buck Allen's going to catch passes again. Danny Woodhead retired, by the way.
Yeah.
Buck Allen caught a lot of passes last year when he was on the field. So I think there's something there.
Nice job. And he's on one of my dynasty teams. I still have to cut him.
Calvin Ridley, despite being a rookie, did not land on Scott Johnson's squad, and I can only guess because Ridley is actually 33 years old is the reason that Scott ignored him.
Looks like it.
Calvin Ridley goes off the board at the 1502 to Mike Tagliere. Tyler Croft, the second tight end selected by Kurt Kikas here at the 1503.
I like that's an interesting pick.
Talk a little bit about why it's interesting, Dave.
Why did Kikas wait so long for a second tight end? He obviously does not believe at all in Eifert. And I'm kind of buying that argument. Eifert, his back is like just messed up. He's still got stuff going on.
I can't imagine
It's July. It's like late July. Eifert's still got he's still messed up.
I can't imagine drafting Eifert in a lot of spots this year. For what it's worth, it's not like Cincinnati is just chock full of great pass-catching options. Right, and Eifert is a former Pro Bowl tight end.
Well, Croft actually was fairly productive, actually.
He did. He was very good last year. He was like a free agent in football guys leagues. He was drafted super late in best balls, hopefully by the Eifert owners.
42 for 404 and 7 touchdowns in limited action.
Yeah.
Pretty
good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Trio of receivers go after the pretty good Tyler Croft, Mohamed Sanu, Ted Ginn, and then Des Bryant. What do you make of that pick in the 15th round? Des Bryant is that Todd Burrows who took him? It certainly is. So swinging for the fences, he needs receivers. He gets Des Bryant there.
Why not? That's solid.
Do you like him in the 15th?
Sure. Who cares?
I have officially taken him off the trade block in all my dynasty leagues that I still own.
No one's paying anything.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But you know who'll pay me something? After he signs with somebody. I'll be able to milk something out of Des Bryant then.
Assuming he signs somewhere.
I need him to get a job. Des, get off your butt. Quit collecting unemployment. Go out there, pick up a newspaper, circle.
He's not collecting any unemployment.
Circle the want ads. And start getting out there, pounding the pavement, and getting some interviews.
Does Des know how low the jobless claims are in the United States right now? They're insanely low.
I'm not going to get into this. After Des Bryant.
That's not politics. That's basic stats, Balky.
Will Lutz, the kicker, goes right after that. Eli McGuire, who's been getting a lot of buzz lately, goes Elijah McGuire, whatever. Austin Eckler, Austin Eckler, by the way, I took him in the Scott Fish Bowl. I think he's an underrated guy there too this year. It sounds like Justin Jackson has a ways to go. As far as being
yes, because Matt Waldman Justin Jackson, so all these dynasty douchebags took him super high.
I don't
think
nobody took Justin Jackson super high.
Oh, they did.
Really? How high?
Second, third.
Oh, come on.
I saw him going in the late second. He was going in the third in every rookie draft.
No, I thought he was like, and Blake Harrington, he went in like the fourth, didn't he? Late fourth?
I'd have to look, but I mean, he was, seriously.
Okay, well.
I can't produce it right now for you.
The power of Waldman. The power of Waldman
put Justin Jackson. Yeah. They hit him like his number 8 running back.
Anyway, Austin Eckler catches passes. Melvin Gordon. I mean, Melvin Gordon will still catch passes this year, but if he were to go down, Austin Eckler would certainly be an attractive option.
I agree with you there.
Dante Moncrief, Harrison Butker, and Dallas Goedert. Another one of my Scott Fishbowl mess ups that I took in that league. So Goddard there. Goddard's been getting some love in the press about people talking about him potentially being better than Trey Burton was last year, which according to you is not a very high bar to jump over.
Well, I mean, truthfully, he was not that productive last year. It's okay. I'm just saying.
All right.
Justin Jackson, 308 by Team Fake News.
Two factors. The mascot of the high stakes fantasy football
league last year. 308. There you go.
Okay, so I was wrong. First time for
everything. Not trying to prove you wrong. I'm just saying he did going pretty early.
That's fine. Okay, I'm gonna pitch this to you. We have about 20 minutes left in the show. We are through 15 rounds of action here. These guys are flying. God, I gotta move the draft board again. So what I will pitch to you, Dave, is we can either go through another couple rounds, or another 2 rounds or whatever of pick by pick coverage, or we can start analyzing some of these teams.
Let's analyze.
You'd like to analyze?
Yep.
Okay.
2 teams are left for the 10 p.m. football guys draft.
So if you want to get in on that, myffpc.com, $2.1 million prize pool, $350 for a team.
Starts in 20 minutes.
Starts in 20 minutes. There are 2 spots available. As soon as the league fills, you get your draft spot. And you can use the knowledge that you learned from the drafters tonight and learn what not to do by our analysis, and maybe win $250,000. You never know. Okay. Would you like to start with Team 1 or Team 12? Doesn't matter? Okay. Start with Team 1. I am going to talk about these teams through the first 16 rounds. Okay, and we'll just leave it at that for the team analysis.
Sure. Okay.
Just letting everybody know in case anyone Balky, how could you not talk about what this guy did in round 17? Well, it's because we're only going through 16 rounds right now.
I'll talk about it.
Larry Weinhauer. The running backs are Todd Gurley, Jordan Howard, Alex Collins, Corey Clement, Devontae Booker, and Buck Allen. The receivers, Mike Evans, Brandon Cooks, Pierre Garçon, Jordy Nelson, Cole Beasley. Tight ends, Cameron Brate, Jack Doyle. Quarterbacks, Phillip Rivers, Derek Carr. We touched on it already. The weakness on this team is probably tight end. Questioning the receiver depth a little bit as well.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, Jordy as your number 4 wide receiver is kind of okay, but then waiting until the 16th to grab a 5th guy is going to be problematic during bye weeks. And yeah, Cameron Brate, Jack Doyle, and Vernon Davis, he's going to have to get kind of lucky, and he should take a 4th tight end somewhere.
I would recommend.
I'm sorry, Vernon Davis, we weren't talking about him. Sorry about that.
All right. That's fine. Running backs are very, very good. The core of Gurley, Howard, and Collins will make this team go. And obviously, having the consistency, or that you like to think the consistency of Evans and Garçon will carry this team as far as the receivers. And you have that added upside with Brandon Cooks.
I mean, I'm sorry to mention this, but the 19th round, he took Luke Wilson until 1901. I think that's a good pick.
That's
I know
fine.
It's beyond where we're supposed to be talking.
He probably heard us.
Nice pick. Nice pick with Luke Wilson with 1901.
Okay. There you go. Moving on, Mike Tagliere from FantasyPros.com, the running backs, Le'Veon Bell, Joe Mixon, Sony Michel, Aaron Jones, the receivers, A.J. Green, Demaryius Thomas, Sterling Shepard, Josh Doctson, Calvin Ridley, Albert Wilson. The tight ends are Trey Burton, Eric Ebron, quarterbacks Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck, Mitchell Trubisky. Dave, I look at this team, and Wilson, Luck, and Trubisky, I think, are fine for quarterbacks. Say what you will about Luck, and I know you will.
More than fine.
Then you look at the tight ends. I question how good they're going to be with just Burton and Ebron through 16 rounds.
I can't.
The running back depth scares me. I think he did a great job accumulating a lot of great receivers, and he'll be flexing out 4 receivers, or he'll be flexing out 2 receivers quite a bit in the FFPC dual flex format. So the receiver depth is really good. Quarterback depth is really good. The questions for me are tight end and running back.
I don't have a lot of questions at running back. Le'Veon Bell, Joe Mixon, Sony Michel, those 3 guys should be fine. Aaron Jones, who knows what will happen with him. He'll be all right.
Does get Yelinay pass catching back late, too.
Having Shepard as your wide receiver 3 is why he went with Josh Doctson, Ridley, Albert Wilson, and more beyond that.
Right. Kept hitting it.
He kept hitting it. That's all right. This team, I think it'll be a solid team. I'm not sure it'll be quite way up there. I mean, he really needs he needs a couple receivers to hit for him, and that might be tough to do. Because it's tough to get top receivers later in the draft.
It is, but I'm not really going to fault anybody for people who keep banging that position.
He should. And I like this tight end that he took in the 18th round that I can't talk about.
Just mention him.
Hayden Hurst. I think that's a nice
fit. Okay, good.
He's the guy who's like 40 already. No, he's like 25. I think Hayden Hurst could be a top 15, top 12 tight end possibly.
That is lava hot.
No, I really do.
Top 12 tight end.
Dude, it's a dude in the combine. Hayden Hurst was like night and he looked like a pro who's been playing for like 4 years.
Well, he should be because there's a lot of pros that have been playing 4 years that are his age.
You know what? You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And that's funny to joke about. But who gives a crap when you're drafting in a redraft format and he's going to play?
Yeah. No.
I mean, you're not you don't care if he retires in 2 years.
I don't. Not in that format.
He looks pretty damn good.
Kurt Kikas, pick number 3, Ezekiel Elliott, Christian McCaffrey, Tariq Cohen, C.J. Anderson, Giovanni Bernard are the running backs. Receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster, Golden Tate, Julian Edelman, Will Fuller, Mike Williams, Geronimo Allison. Tight ends, Zach Ertz, Tyler Kroft. Quarterbacks, Ben Roethlisberger, Jared Goff. I look at this squad, Dave, and I'm just kind of like, this kind of seems like a team that I would put together. Yeah, so it's hard for me to find too many faults with it. Waiting until round 15 to get your number 2 tight end, but I mean, it's not like Kroft was a bad pick there. Roethlisberger and Goff as your top 2 quarterbacks, I'm fine with. I think Elliott and McCaffrey are in for big years. Tariq Cohen, it might be my boy. I mean, I really like him quite a bit. C.J. Anderson, my proclivity for him in drafts this year is maybe not well known.
Paired with McCaffrey too.
Paired with McCaffrey, that's a great point. And then, Edelman, Fuller, Mike Williams, Geronimo Allison, they're not huge names, but the opportunities that are in front of them, they can make some noise. So I don't think this team is particularly dominant anywhere, but I also don't think it's particularly weak anywhere.
I thought the Geo pick in the 13th round was actually
I like that one. Yeah,
good third round back. I don't like the receivers after Juju and Tate. Edelman, he's all right, but then Will Fuller, I guess I'm down more on Will Fuller than other people. I don't think he's all that great. I don't know if I buy the whole best ball argument of taking a guy who's going to suck one week and then be really awesome other weeks. I just feel like I'd rather have like a Jarvis Landry type who's going to be pretty damn good all the time. I don't know. I just don't believe in that as much.
But if you get enough of those guys, chances are.
But the thing is, people don't get enough of those guys. I mean, people don't end up with like 5 explosive superstars that are also like 4 of them are scoring 30 points every week. That's just kind of like a fiction to me.
He also is taking Will Fuller in the 8th round.
I mean, as a player that's going to have to play on his team. I mean, and then Mike Williams is the guy right after that. So it's like, all right, so you have Mike Williams, Geronimo Allison, and Fuller following Juju, Tate, and Edelman. I mean, Juju himself is not even the number 1 receiver on his team. Tate's not a super incredible target guy, and Edelman's suspended. I'm just worried about his receivers, I guess is where I'm getting with.
All right, that's
I'm not trying to pick on Kikas. I'm just saying, if I'm picking out a weakness, that's the weakness for me.
I get it. Let's move on and talk about Josh Hayes from Roto Baller, his squad at the 4 spot tonight. Running backs are David Johnson, Jerick McKinnon, Kenyon Drake, Ty Montgomery, Doug Martin. Receivers, Doug Baldwin, Devin Funchess, Emmanuel Sanders, Kelvin Benjamin, Mohamed Sanu, Quincy Enunwa. Tight ends, Jimmy Graham, Ricky Seals-Jones, and the quarterbacks, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Eli Manning. I don't have much to say about this squad other than that I like it.
I felt like he got pretty decent, all his picks made sense in all the spots that he took them, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like Benjamin in the 10th round was a nice pick. I mean, that was pretty cheap.
Yep.
Wentz, Ryan, Eli, it's a super solid combination. Wentz I don't think is going to really do much early on, but we'll see. We'll see what, I guess my concern is Funchess and Sanders paired with Benjamin, because I don't really like Benjamin overall, but I mean, he's a number 4 wide receiver. So I guess I'm worried about the receivers a little bit just to see if those guys actually do anything. Baldwin's a super solid pick in the 3rd.
Yeah, 304 I think is great for Baldwin.
I like Jimmy Graham too in the 4th, actually. I think the Packers, they talk about splitting them out wide.
Right.
It's going to be super productive, I think. It's going to be Devontae Adams, Jimmy Baldwin, and I think the bust is going to be Randall Cobb in the Packers.
It could be. I'll say this. You brought up the not liking the Will Fuller type players, the boom or bust guys. Look at what Josh Hayes did in the 15th and 16th. Mohamed Sanu and Quincy Enunwa, 2 guys that aren't necessarily like relying on big plays, but guys that could get high volume there, and that shouldn't be forgotten just because you move on to the second half of the best ball draft, and I think he did a pretty good job getting both of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and Enunwa has definite upside. He had some good games 2 years ago, and he got hurt, and he's got to deal with some other. He's the slot guy at 6'2", 225. I thought that's kind of funny. The biggest wide receiver on the team. And the team's really been talking him up a lot. I thought that was a nice pick in the 16th.
They had to change their offense to widen the slot to fit Anunua in. So,
hilarious.
Yeah, no, hilarious and true. I'm spitting the facts tonight. Bob Beyondich and Mark Williams picking at the 5 spot, the running backs. Mark Ingram, Lamar Miller, Marshawn Lynch, Marlon Mack, Jamal Williams, Latavius Murray. Receivers, Antonio Brown, Devontae Adams, T.Y. Hilton, Tyler Lockett, Ted Ginn. Tight ends, Tyler Eifert, Vance McDonald, Benjamin Watson, Drew Brees, and Blake Bortles at quarterback. You and I fundamentally disagree on the running backs here, even though you said you liked 2 of those picks, which is, I said 2 of them would outperform their draft spots. I'm not a huge fan of T.Y. Hilton in the 3rd, but obviously if Luck is healthy, which we don't know, and we probably won't know until the start of the season, it sort of hinges on that. I think the running back depth is fine. No big names at tight end. You're in danger of some busts there, so that could really hurt. Quarterbacks I'm fine with. And one of the things you always bring up, if you want to hit receiver early, that's fine, but then don't ignore it, which is what happened. I mean, to take a 4th receiver till round 13. Now, he does get Tyler Lockett there, who you and I both like as far as value goes, but the depth there might be some question marks.
I mean, they hit some other guys, beyond what we're analyzing. I thought those were actually some solid picks. So they do have some other receivers after that. But yeah, I think receiver depth is going to be a problem. But, the top 3 guys are obviously fantastic. If they can get over 4 yards a carry out of 4 of those 5 running backs, this is going to be a really good team.
I don't even think they need to do that. I don't even think they need to do that. Todd Burrows, RotoViz, the running backs, Alvin Kamara, Devontae Freeman, Rex Burkhead, Carlos Hyde, receivers, Allen Robinson, Corey Davis, Kenny Galladay, Paul Richardson, Des Bryant. Tight ends, Greg Olsen, Kyle Rudolph, Jared Cook, quarterbacks, Cam Newton and Patrick Mahomes. I think if we look at the tight ends on this team, Dave, as far as what we've analyzed thus far, they might be the strongest in this draft. They might be the strongest overall in Olsen, Rudolph, and Cook. Obviously very touch-heavy in the first 2 rounds with Kamara and Freeman. Those guys are definitely going to get all that they can handle. I like Robinson and Davis. Galladay maybe not so much. So the receiver depth is a little concerning. We'll see how he fills in the blanks there. He does get Zerline and Elliott. Should I bring those guys up at kicker? I didn't, so I will bring them up right now. So by and large, far be it for me to criticize a guy who's been very, very good in this format and won leagues off of it. But I'm a little nervous about the receiver depth on this team. It's sort of what the price you pay when you go for that luxurious tight end trio.
Well, in the first 9 rounds, he took 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends. And then he subsequently sacrificed wide receiver depth, took Allen Robinson, Corey Davis. So then you only have 2 receivers through 9 rounds. So at that point, you should really be pounding the hell out of receivers.
Right.
And instead of that, I think he should not have taken Carlos Hyde. He should not have taken Jared Cook. Definitely not taking those 2 damn kickers. And I think he should have grabbed like 5 wide receivers. I think it's ridiculous. No offense. But I think it's ridiculous that he wastes those picks on the kickers. They're good kickers, granted. But I think he needed more wide receivers. And I think that if he had done that, he'd feel a little bit better about his wide receiver depth. Running backs are great, tight ends are great, quarterbacks are great. But at least then you have a few more flyers, a few more irons in the fire, so to speak, at wide receiver.
All right, fair enough. Scott Johnson, let's move on to this dominant dynasty startup team that he has built here. This is Saquon Barkley, Darius Geis, Rashad Penny, Chris Thompson, and Chris Ivory.
He's got trade offers out right now.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. Yeah, I have no doubt. It was weird in the 2nd round. He took a 2019 first-round pick. I didn't know you could do that in Codes or Jones, but he did it. Keenan Allen, Jarvis Landry, Jamison Crowder, Cooper Kupp, Marquise Lee at receiver, Evan Ingram and Austin Hooper at tight end, quarterbacks Kirk Cousins and Alex Smith. Dave, if I am going to pick a bone here, it is that there is not a ton of knowns with his running backs, which I think it's a little bit picking at nits. I think the receivers are great. And the tight end depth does concern me a little bit. Austin Hooper as his number 2 tight end, and Evan Ingram as his number 1. And I'm not an Ingram guy this year.
I like Scott's team a lot. I like the roster construction because of the way he went out of his first 9 picks. He only has 1 tight end, no quarterbacks. By waiting on that, he's able to pound running backs, able to pound receivers. And you look at it. You're looking at his flex position, right?
Yeah.
His flex position is like Chris Thompson, Cooper Kupp, Marquise Lee, Chris Ivory. That's really solid, actually.
Yeah.
So I think he has a really strong team. I like his team overall quite a bit.
Okay, there you go. I have no quarrel with it. Listen, if we're gonna orphan this team, it would sell right away. Clearly.
We give full price for this.
Oh yeah,
no problem.
No, yeah, in 30 seconds it'd be gone. JJ Zachariason from Number Fire, Leonard Fournette, Jay Ajayi, Royce Freeman, Naheem Hines, Elijah McGuire, Matt Breida at running back. Receivers are Michael Thomas, Adam Thielen, Sammy Watkins, Robert Woods, Alan Hearns, and Cameron Meredith. Tight ends, George Kittle, O.J. Howard, and the quarterbacks, Marcus Mariota and Dak Prescott. This is a team that, like Kirk Kikis' team, I don't think it's necessarily weak anywhere. I think it's pretty well balanced. He does need to hit on some players here. You need, Royce Freeman, Naheem Hines, one of those guys has to pan out. George Kittle probably should not bust for him. If he busts, he's going to be in trouble with O.J. Howard there. And then, I guess I'm slightly concerned with Adam Thielen. He should still get enough volume to make a difference and be the reason that Zachariason succeeds in this league. I'm not a huge Watkins guy, I'm not a huge Woods guy, but I like the value of Hearns, and you know my feelings on Cam Meredith in the 14th. I like it.
Overall, his wide receivers are fantastic. I think I like Thomas, Thielen, Watkins, Woods, Allen, Hearns, Meredith together. That's fantastic. I think there's a lot of risk at tight end. O.J. Howard, you don't know where he's at. He's still worried about Cameron Brate. George Kittle, he had very modest production. I mean, take a look. He had one 13-point week and one 14-point week in his so-called 6 weeks or 7 week spurt with Jimmy Garoppolo. It wasn't really much, man. I mean, seriously, when you're taking him in the 7th round, he's going to really have to come on as a second-year player. Running backs are pretty solid. He needs Freeman to emerge. His team's overall pretty solid. But he's got some risk at tight end and as number 3 running back.
Overall we like the team though, right?
Yeah, overall.
Doug Goodison, LaShawn McCoy, Dion Lewis, Duke Johnson, James White, Austin Eckler are the running backs. Receivers, DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, Devontae Parker, Marquise Goodwin, Nelson Aguilar at receiver. I'll throw in Martavis Bryant even there, even though I'm not supposed to because he went around 17. Tight end, Delaney Walker and Jordan Reed. And then the quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford, Case Keenum, Ryan Tannehill. So I look at this squad here, Dave. A lot of question marks at running back. Maybe not as much because you know that Lewis, Johnson, and White and Eckler actually are all good pass-catching running backs. So, I think that mitigates the risk a little bit. Jordan Reed is your number 2 tight end. He could be a fantastic pick if he can stay healthy for more than half the season. Delaney Walker, reliable there. And then obviously you're hoping for a breakout from Parker. You're hoping Goodwin can keep up what he did Goodwin and Aguilar to keep up what they did last year. So it's a good mix of risk and ceiling here on Goodison's team. We'll talk more about it on Friday night, but overall I think this is a strong contender.
Oh, sorry, we're going to review Goodison? No, this team is terrible.
Here we go. This is what to call him on Friday.
I'll say something. I like the receivers are great. Shady McCoy, you just have to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, we don't know.
I love the Dion Lewis pick. I like the Duke Johnson pick. I like the pass-catching backs. Jordan Reed with Delaney Walker is actually pretty good. You have a super solid guy, and then Jordan Reed. Who knows what's going to ever happen with them? Team overall is pretty solid, actually. I like the roster instruction. I don't know if some of the receivers I wouldn't have gone with, but that's all right.
Right. Tim McCullough, former overall champion in this league, this format, beat everybody a few years back. Kareem Hunt, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Bilal Powell all at running back. Receivers, Amari Cooper, Josh Gordon, Chris Hogan, Alshon Jeffrey, Rashard Matthews, Dante Moncrief. Tight ends are David Njoku and Charles Clay. Quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo, Andy Dalton. So Brady and Garoppolo back together again on Tim McCullough's team here in the Pros versus Joes competition. I think the receivers are great. It's the backbone of this team. I question the tight end depth. He's going to need some help there. The quarterbacks are great. And then the running backs are fairly top-heavy, especially if Nick Chubb does get that job early in the season and runs with it, pun intended. And then you have Bilal Powell as your number 4. Then it gets dicey after that. But by and large, I think this is another team that is, again, Tim McCullough knows what he's doing. Won this whole thing. So I think this is another good team drafted at the back end here.
I like the team a lot, actually. I like his running backs. Hunt, Cook, Chubb, and Powell. That's excellent. The receivers, 4 in a row. Great move. Matthews with Moncrief, and then Jordan Matthews went to 17th. We really can't talk about him, I guess. But and Brady Garoppolo. I think his team is super solid. Granted, tight end is his weakness. That's what that's fine. And Njoku is a second-year breakout player. And Charles Clay is like the steady Eddie on Buffalo. So I actually don't mind the tight ends too much. I don't know why he doesn't have a third one yet. But and that's even through Halloween here. That's through 22 rounds. McCullough, you got to take 3, buddy.
Don't tell Tim McCullough how many tight ends to take. We've made this mistake before. I will not be making it again in this show.
Look, I can open.
He might have taken too many already.
I can only open the gates of heaven to one more time, and we'll see what's available for you. Go ahead.
Kellen Winslow Jr. is still out there, by the way. Brian Holgen. Brian Holgen and Scott Campbell, the only team to go 0 RB in this best ball format tonight. They end up going with Ronald Jones, Kevin Coleman, Isaiah Crowell, Theo Riddick at running back, Odell Beckham, Stephon Diggs, Larry Fitzgerald, Marvin Jones, Robbie Anderson, Kenny Stills at receiver. Tight ends are Rob Gronkowski, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, Deshaun Watson, Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. Dave?
Love it.
I think the team is very, very good. The running backs will either make this team, if the running backs hit, he should win this league.
They have Tavon Austin in the 18th round, which we can't talk about too much, but if Tavon Austin stays at running back, bam, watch out. This is good. If he actually produces like Dallas says he's going to. So I actually like this team quite a bit.
Yeah, and there's the scuttlebutt on the YouTube chat for the live video of the board. There's a lot of people who like that team as well. Michael Goins from Dynasty Football Factory. Melvin Gordon, Derrick Henry, Kerryon Johnson, Chris Carson at running back. Tyreek Hill, Michael Crabtree, Randall Cobb, DJ Moore, Dede Westbrook, Deshaun Jackson at receiver. Travis Kelce and Dallas Goedert at tight end. Aaron Rodgers and Jameis Winston at quarterback. I like this team too. I think the back end of this draft did pretty good work here in this draft. The core of running backs there, assuming Kerryon Johnson is the guy there, which we're both right now I think are projecting to happen. And I know you don't like Cobb, but he's the number 2 receiver in this offense in Green Bay, so I think that there's something to be said for that.
Finish it off.
Getting Westbrook and Deshaun Jackson late, I like that. And then Goddard, he could actually be a difference maker too, even as the number 2 tight end. So to get him as late as he did, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I like this squad too.
I'm sorry, the lady was warning us that the show's supposed to end.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Can keep talking?
The listeners can't hear that, and we can keep talking.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, Balky. I like the team quite a bit as well. He did what I would usually consider the tragic mistake of taking a quarterback and a tight end in both in the first 6 rounds. And then, he did really well taking the running backs and receivers that he did through 10 rounds. So I think I like this team quite a bit. He did a really nice job.
Yeah, I think,
it's not the tragic mistake. I'm wrong. It was really good draft.
The first pros versus Joes, I think, is always interesting because there's nothing to go off of, unless you've been, obviously the Joes have done some best balls already, and some of the pros have too. So I think tonight we're seeing how tough a competition this is, and going forward, they're just going to get tougher. You're going to see some cutthroat drafting coming up on the High Stakes Fantasy Football.
It's like West Side Story.
Yeah, totally. Who's the Jets? Who's the Sharks? I don't know. So listen, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. We will be cutting the YouTube feed shortly. However, these draft boards will be posted on the FFPC message boards and the FFPC social media accounts, including the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour as well. I want to thank Kurt Kikas, Todd Burrows. You can follow on Twitter at Todd from PA. Check out the Run to Daylight podcast on blogtalkradio.com. And, of course, all his great work at Football Diehards and RotoViz. Zach Giroux also chiming in tonight. Great to hear from that dude. Tomorrow we'll be back an hour later at 8 Central tomorrow. And we will hear from some of the guys we were talking about tonight. The Joes in tomorrow's draft, the pros, Ryan Santos, Evan Silva, Jason Rock Phelps from Sports Injury Predictor, Fantasy Alarms, Howard Bender will be on, Fantasy Gurus, Graham Barfield, and of course another former overall champion of this competition, Jake Seeley from the Fantasy Sports Network. That is like a murderer's row of pros coming on the show tomorrow. The Joes, what? Oh, okay. Joe Stutzman.
Okay.
Joe Stutzman leading the Joes tomorrow. Mark Pennington, Eric Danowski, Mike Maloney. Your buddy.
Those are just good players.
Your buddy. Yes, they are. Your buddy, Baker Boy, Joe Del Zanero.
Joe Del Zanero's got to call it.
Joe and Tom Del Zanero will be drafting tomorrow. Of course, John Kleinfelter and Dave Byer. John Kleinfelter, Fester, will be drafting.
Fester's great. All the Joes are great.
Yeah, so it's going to be a fantastic.
I love the Joes. I hate the pros.
What? Don't say something like that.
Balky's just the industry guy.
Get your draft spot early. tomorrow is the deadline, midnight Pacific. If you want your FFPC main event draft slot by July 30th, make sure your team is PIF, paid in full, by midnight Pacific tomorrow. Make your Planet Hollywood reservation, sign up for the main event, and draft Best Ball, Dynasty, and the Football Guys Players Championship right now at myffpc.com. Thanks to everybody for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. Your week officially starts
This
now.
has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com that was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
About to call your ass a Uber, I got somewhere to be. I hear fairy tales about how they gon' run up on me. Well, run up when you see me, then we gon' see. I got enemies, got a lot of enemies, got a lot of people trying to drain me of this energy, trying to take the wave.
Hey, one down, 5 to go, Dave.
I feel pretty good.
I feel good too. Rally Cap, by the way, in the chat room earlier said, I'm so glad you guys don't do these back, 6 in a row anymore. There's no way Dave could keep up this energy 6 nights in a row.
All right, I have good energy?
You had great energy tonight.
All right, I love it, baby.
There was a lot of salt and spice being tossed around on these airwaves
Hey,
tonight.
man, the human body, the tongue likes salt.
Yeah, well, sweet and savory stuff coming from me again tomorrow. Check it out. Thanks for listening.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's Employee of the Month, 2 months in a row. Leave a message at the... Hi, Jamie. It's me, Jamie. I just had a new idea for our song about the Name Your Price tool. So when it's like, tell us what you want to pay, hey, 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 and the trombone goes, blah, 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 and you say, we'll help you find coverage options to fit your budget. Then we just all do finger snaps while a choir goes, savings coming at ya, savings coming at ya. Yes? No? Maybe? Anyway, see your practice tonight. I got new lyrics for the rap break.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
You work all day, then go home and make dinner. That's not fair, because making your dinner, that's our job. We don't work all day, then go home and do your job, so stop doing ours. Head into Buffalo Wild Wings for America's favorite wings, shareables, burgers, and more. Choose from 21 signature sauces and seasonings to take your dinner from mild to wild. But don't worry, we're dinner pros. If things get too wild, we've got dozens of beers on tap and a full bar to bail out your palate. Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.